these messages.
Rich Stadium, home of the Buffalo Bills, is sold out. 80,000 are here on a cool, sunny October day to watch two of the best in the American Conference, the Buffalo Bills and the Denver Broncos. Go ahead. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Don Cricky, and welcome to Buffalo. The Denver Broncos are playing at the levels they played at in 1977 when you know they went on to the Super Bowl. They're playing great football, have the #1 defense in the National Football League, and you know the story of Craig Morton at quarterback. He has been absolutely spectacular in this, his 38th year of life, his 17th year in the National Football League. My partner, John Brody, played 17 years in this league. How do you play your season at 38, John?
Well, Donnie, I played 17 years, but my 17th wasn't too effective. In contrast to that, Morton's having what people consider to be his best year, but we've covered him for the last 3 or 4 years, and every time we come to either Denver or Buffalo, wherever he's playing, they say, what's happened to Craig Morton? He's just an excellent player having an excellent year, and I give credit to Dan Reeves' structure and his intelligence.
And he's got a great young player that's helped him a lot. Steve Watson, the wide receiver, the free agent from Temple, has caught about a touchdown pass, almost 1 in 3.
Well, I think Steve Watson, when the season started, didn't feel like he was an integral part of this group. He does now. He got started fast, 95, 93-yard touchdown. The guy is definitely a big part of this group now.
31 catches, 9 for touchdowns. The Buffalo Bills have an excellent pass-catch combination. Joe Ferguson and Frank Lewis. Too many better than that.
Well, Joe Ferguson is my favorite. I guess in the first part of the season, if I had to pick a guy that I think is all-pro, it's Joe Ferguson. I think he's played that way over the past several years. But let's take a look at one of the greatest athletes that's almost been a mystery and a secret to everybody else in the National Football League. That is Frank Lewis. I think he's the best natural athlete in this game today, and I think you're going to see an awful lot from him.
Well, both teams, they like to throw the ball long. The running game could be a big factor. The Denver Broncos have not run the ball well.
Well, the Denver Broncos haven't, and they feel that they have to today. I think you'll see them running the ball a little more wide, and I think their plays will be a little simpler. They know they have to do it.
We're just about set to go at Buffalo, the Broncos and the Bills, when we come back.
The football ahead. We'll be ready. Kickoff. Today's game following these words from your local station.
Football League, the American Football Conference. Today, from Rich Stadium, it's the Denver Broncos versus the Buffalo Bills. Today, good afternoon and welcome to Rich Stadium, Buffalo, New York. Don Cricky with John Brody. A big matchup today. The Broncos tied for the lead in the AFC West against these Buffalo Bills. Awful tough at home, coming in with a record of 4-3 and running a game and a half behind Miami in the AFC East. Nick Mickemeyer kicks off for the Bills. Wade Manning, a former Dallas Cowboy, takes it across the 20 and out to the 24-yard line. Buffalo sweeps him under. And the Broncos go on offense, 1st and 10. A year ago, John, as you know well, the Broncos were 25th in the National Football League in offense. But with Morton having that great year, they're way up to 9th now and are playing very effective football. They have the best passing game in the league right now. Watson, Upchurch, and Odom's the receivers. A lot of speed on the flank. Odom's a big tight end. Excellent pass-blocking offensive line, one of the very best. Morton has been sacked 24 times, but he tends to eat the ball if it's close. He won't put it up when he's in trouble. Consequently, he's taken some sacks where a lot of quarterbacks would have released the ball. It's 1st and 10 now from scrimmage for Denver. Pitch back, Preston, end around, this is Upchurch. Rick Upchurch turns the corner. He's across the 30 and an excellent defensive play on the far side of the field. Charles Rome, the right side corner, held his ground and stopped him.
Don, the play was stopped by Sherman White. When a defensive end stays home, turns the play in, the back can pick up in the flow. Otherwise, that would have been a 25-yard gain. Just a great play by Sherman, who's having the best year of all the interior linemen.
Linebackers are good. Sanford, Hazlitt, Nelson, and Robertson. Secondary with Clark and Romes at the corners. The former Ram Bill Simpson and Steve Freeman are the safeties. the yard to the 30-yard line. Lucius Sanford closed quickly, and so did 55 Jim Hasler. We'll watch him again. Gain of only a
yard on the play.
For Buffalo to really play good defense, they have to play well in the middle. Both Nelson and Hazlitt are active players. They play the 3-4. That means their linebackers have to be in the action whenever the play swings wide. Both those two guys are generally there.
Rufus Betts and Rod Cush now come into the secondary as the Bills go to their extra defensive back alignment. It's 3rd down and 5 for the Broncos. Watson comes back to the line of scrimmage, now turns upfield as Morton takes a look at him, stands in, throws the ball, and Watson has it. 1st down, Broncos. Well executed play by Denver. 3rd and 5. John Brody, they get the 1st down.
Well, and you know who they're going to if he's open. That was a little combination pattern with 3 receivers to the left side. They try and put a man in motion. This time it's Watson getting a matchup that they like. You see who's cleaning out the play? This is the zone defense. Now, Buffalo's defensive linebackers generally play pretty tight to the line of scrimmage. You can see he cuts underneath Isaiah Robertson. Romes has to come up and make the play. Very good, just a well-designed play.
To the run they go, and on 1st and 10, Peros, the small fullback, takes it across the 40. Gets ahead for a couple of yards close to the 42. Sherman White, Shane Nelson on the stop for Buffalo.
Don, the indicator, I think, as play goes along in this 1st quarter is whether or not Buffalo will be able to run the ball effectively against Buffalo. Because when Denver does push people off the line of scrimmage or get a good defensive turnover, they tend to dominate football games. They have not dominated the line of scrimmage as of yet. Watson caught one 7-yard pass. That got him their 1st down. I think you'll be able to tell the trend of the ball game by watching the line of scrimmage.
And they have not been a good running team. It's 2nd down and 8 for the Broncos. Martin, deep drop, lots of time, swings it in the flat. Peros drops the ball. Coming out of the backfield, it'll be 3rd down and 8. Tom Catlin, the assistant head coach of the Bills, one of the most brilliant defensive tacticians in the NFL, told me before the game, John, he said, our #1 objective has to be to take the long ball away from Denver. He said, now that they're throwing deep, Morton is going for the home run.
That's a great point. Morton is a north-south thrower, but the personality of Buffalo is to keep their linebackers in a very shallow spot. They leave a little medium area in there that Morton would like to take advantage of. He doesn't throw his backs out of the backfield very often, so maybe Buffalo's linebackers will play deeper.
Danny Reeves has brought in the Dallas offense, including the shotgun, and this is it. 3rd and 8. He's got a problem. Now he looks. Now he goes down at the 30. Sherman White, 83. Was the first man to sting him, and Ken Johnson was also in, and there is a 14-yard sack.
Craig Morton was given plenty of time to throw the ball, but he couldn't find an open receiver. And we mentioned earlier the personality differences between the 2 quarterbacks. Ferguson has only been sacked 3 times. Morton, this is 25 for Craig. Now, it's just a different style of play. Craig has taken his licks. It's amazing he's even there at 38 years of age, taking licks like that from Sherman White. But he is, and
that might be as amazing, John, as 110 passing rating. In fact, he's still here. You did it. 17 years, and now a booming punt by Prestridge downfield. Here's a rookie from Auburn, Byron Franklin. He's a flyer, gets across the 30, out to the 35. Byron Franklin has world-class speed. Number 85 brings the ball back 7 yards, and so the Bills go on offense for the first time after a 49-yard punt by Prestridge. Temperature in the high 40s, clear and sunny in Buffalo as the Bills come on offense for the first time. 1st and 10 at their 35-yard line. Ferguson, their quarterback's having a good year, a real good year. Joey Cribbs takes the ball on a counter, slants up across the 35, gets close to the 38. The Bills on offense are led by Ferguson at quarterback, who started right from his rookie year in '73. Joe Cribbs, the 2nd-year back from Auburn, and a small fullback from Missouri, Curtis Brown, are his runners. Receivers, they're great ones. Jerry Butler and Frank Lewis, and a young tight end from Michigan State, Mark Bramer. Offensive line playing very well. They've lost McKenzie at left guard. Borchart's gone in and played well. Ken Jones and Devlin, the tackle's very good. Dobler, you know about him. Plays a mean game, but plays it well. It's 2nd down and 7 now for Buffalo. Back to Cribbs. Broncos close. Cribbs breaks through. Gets across the 40. He's close to a 1st down. The Bronco defense playing with inspiration again. #1 in the NFL in overall defense. Across the defensive front, Barney Chavis. Number 79, middle guard Reuben Carter, who says if you hold me, you're going to pay. And Rulon Jones, the big pass rusher from Utah State. Linebackers excellent. Bob Swenson, Larry Evans, All-Pro Gradishar, and Tom Jackson. He'll blitz. Secondary, a lot of experience. Lewis Wright and Aaron Kyle at the corner. Steve Foley and Billy Thompson, the safeties. Real good defense. 3rd and less than a yard now for the Bills. Fullback. Did he get there? Didn't look like he did, John. Roosevelt Leaks came in and didn't get there.
And he has been a dominant force on 3rd and 1 foot to go. He's definitely short this time. Take a look. They're going to the strength. They've got Ken Jones trying to go over the top of Rulon. Rulon stuffed it all up. He's down at the bottom of the pile. You see number 75 right underneath on Ken Jones, forcing him back. If you don't get Surge at the point of attack, you don't make a first down when it's 3rd and short. He forced a turnover.
And they didn't get the Surge, and so now the Broncos will get it back for a second time with no score in the first quarter. There's Greg Cater to punt for Buffalo. Having a good year, hitting it almost 43 yards a try. Low snap, big rush. He has a problem, but he gets it away and hits it very well. Cater makes an all-pro play and hops into the end zone. It'll come out to the 20. There is a penalty marker down, though.
It has to be. They had a man downfield because it took him so long to get the ball off. Those linemen can only wait so long. Pretty soon they figure they must have missed the kick.
Cater did very well to get that away. The Broncos had an all-out rush on. Larry Canada, 35 there, was the man who was coming and got very close to blocking it. Broncos and the Bills last played here in Buffalo in 1979. Denver won that day, 1916. Craig Morton stands 4-0 at quarterback against Buffalo over his year.
50, 55, downfield on it, penalty refused, first down.
They don't want to give Greg Cater another chance to hang it up inside the 20. They'll take it at the 20. So the Broncos will go on offense. 1st and 10 for a second time. There's no score with 8:58 to play in the first quarter. The scores are coming on now as the 1 o'clock game's underway. New England taking a 3-0 lead on Washington. Brian Sipe has thrown to Ozzie Newsome, and Cleveland's gone in front. Baltimore 7-0. St. Louis leads Minnesota 3-0. 1st and 10. Here's the run. Peros carries. The Bills nail him. Fred Smerlas, 76, was the guy who came in neck high. Cut him down.
Don, you can almost see Buffalo's attack. They want to shut down the run, force Morton to throw the ball, and then get a good pass rush on him because he does hang in there. This is Fred Smerlas, thought to be one of the top nose tackles in the business. Not having as good a year as he did last year when he went to the Pro Bowl. They need a little better play out of an outstanding performer in order for their defense to improve.
Smerlas was the big key. Cleveland leading 7-0, as we mentioned, with Brian Sipe throwing to Ozzie Newsome. It is now 2nd down and 8. Handoff goes to Peros. He turns wide, and he turns the corner and close to a first down. He didn't quite get there. Steve Freeman caught him and knocked him down at about the 28-yard line. A look again from the end zone as the Broncos get a better running play that second crack at it.
This is more of a fooler play. This isn't the kind of play where you blow people off the line of scrimmage and get an indication. It's against the flow type play. All the action went to the right. Peros takes off to the left, found a little hole, and gets within 1.5 yards of a first down. Now we'll see whether they can move people off the line of scrimmage.
Broncos averaging only 3.5 yards a rush. That's usually not good enough to get it done, but they've been winning. At the right arm, it's 3rd and 2 now. Egloff, tight end, switches to the other side. They have 2 tight ends aligned there. That's the power side. Preston runs. He didn't get there. Oh, the Bills play it tough. Buffalo comes a-smoking on the snap of the ball and smashes the Denver ball carrier for a loss on the play.
I tell you, it was very difficult that time. They were trying to move 8 guys against 11. They had no one playing in the secondary. They just sacrificed the whole shooting match to meet people at the line of scrimmage. Both sides playing pretty good defense at the line of scrimmage, actually winning the battle so far.
They have been. We've seen consecutive short yardage plays on 3rd downs, first for the Bills, now for the Broncos, both coming up short. So Luke Prestridge is going to punt. Roland Hooks and Byron Franklin are back for Buffalo. Prestridge unloaded the first time, got one off 59 yards. High punt, not too deep. Fair catch is going to be signaled for and made, and the Bills get good field position at the 40 on the fair catch by Byron Franklin. So, with 6:45 to play in the first quarter, it's still 0-0. Bills go on offense when we come back.
New York out in Cleveland, the Browns are on the board against the most generous defense in the AFC, the Baltimore Colts. Brian Sipes, Ozzie Newsome, Browns in front 7-0 in the first period. Let's go back to Rich Stadium. Don Criqui and John Broden.
Thank you, Brian. Chuck Knox, 8 years a head coach in the NFL. 6 years his teams have gone on as divisional champions. 5 times at L.A., here at Buffalo last year. Danny Reeves is the youngest coach in the league in his rookie season at Denver, 37 years old.
And acts like he's been there all his life.
Done a big job. His players have certainly responded to him and to his system. And here's Cribbs running on first down for Buffalo and gets close to the 44. Gain of about 4 yards. Gradishar, 53, and Rulon Jones, 75. We're on the stop. You talked about Joe Ferguson, John, and your high opinion of him, which is very interesting. You think he's as good as there is in the game today. I
do, and I'll tell you the indicator to me. He throws the ball down the field. He features his wide receivers and his tight end, and yet he's still only been sacked 3 times all year. When you're that good and waiting that long for receivers to run their patterns and still only get sacked 3 times, you know you're in control of what you're doing.
Second down and 5 will make it now for the Buffalo Bills. Pitch back goes. Curtis Brown turns upfield, and Denver is there to sweep them under. Not much there, maybe a yard out to the 46-yard line.
Well, you've mentioned, and we've alluded to the fact that Denver is 22nd in the league against the rush. I think that's a bit deceiving, and I don't think they're as easy to run the ball against as it appears statistically. If they decide to shut down the run, play their linebackers closer to the line of scrimmage, they'll shut you down, and I think that's what they're doing early.
On that Atlanta lead over New York, Bartkowski just threw to Junior Miller from 29 yards out for the Falcons touchdown. Third down and still about 5 for Buffalo at their 45-yard line. Ferguson goes into that shotgun. Gradishar jumps into the gap like he might be blitzing. Now he drops back to pass cover. 4-man rush. Here's a throw. Here's a connection. The ball is dropped by Frank Lewis, and a penalty marker comes in from way off the play in the secondary.
We saw a man drop a ball for one of the few times he's dropped one in his career, let alone in this year. He'll run a pattern. It's a little delay pattern. And you're going to see what they call as offensive interference, and they're going to call it on Frank, but they felt he pushed off to get in the little delay zone. The ball was well thrown.
So again, the Bronco defense holds. Gene Barth, the referee. Wade Manning now is back. Single safety for the punt. And Cater ready to hit it from somewhere around his 35-yard line.
My man pushed off and dropped the ball, too. That's not a very good start for him.
Well, he's got a long way to go. Leading receiver from a number of catches in the AFC. He's caught 37 coming in. Downfield it goes, back on into the end zone and back out to the 20 on a touchback, and the Broncos go on offense again.
I'll tell you one indicator right now. Buffalo's had great field position. They've got the wind with them, and they've done nothing with it.
That is a good point. That wind can change, though. It is a swirling wind, and we'll be back to Rich Stadium right after this. The scores continue to come in. Doug Williams has just thrown for a touchdown, and Tampa Bay has gone in front of favorite Philadelphia at Veterans Stadium. Eric Hipple ran for a touchdown. Morton throws, and the ball is tipped away. Riley Odoms, the tight end, might have gone a long way, but Bill Simpson, the free safety, 45. The veteran from Michigan State tipped it away.
And I'll tell you what they got. They got a pretty good pass rush. It allowed Bill Simpson to play the ball. Riley Odoms was in the middle of the field, had to adjust his pattern a little because of Simpson's position, and Craig threw it a little bit soft. We heard Matt Robinson mentioning the other night that, you know, when you don't capitalize on the breaks that you get, sometimes you don't get any more. And now I think that Buffalo's had 2 good field positions and Simpson's opportunity there, and they haven't done much with any of them.
Second and 10 now for Morton and the Broncos. Pitch back. Preston runs. Loses his footing and is knocked down at the 22. It'll be 3rd and 8. Ben Williams was on it. Bill setting up in pass coverage, and Morton crossing him up, or attempting to, going to the run for not much.
Well, they're trying to run the ball wide. They know if they can handle the linebackers on the outside, both Isaiah Robertson, who's been playing again just like he did in the past, and Lucius Sanford, then they can get some yards because the defensive secondary does play loose. They haven't been able to get outside yet.
Now the extra people go in the Buffalo secondary again. Looking to pay the pass. Rufus Bess and Rod Cush come in. Ken Johnson comes in as a down lineman, 91, to rush the passer. 3rd down and 8 for the Broncos. Rick Upchurch turns upfield. Morton stands in. The rush closes in. He releases the ball to Riley Odoms, and he dropped the ball against Rod Cush. Riley Odoms had him beat, had the ball, and lost it.
What a beautiful throw, Don. He moved about 7 people around at the line of scrimmage before he had somebody in motion. They do it to get the proper matchup. That time he had Riley Odoms on Cush. A one-on-one situation. Morton had to wait a long time to throw the ball, threw it perfectly. Riley Odoms doesn't drop many, but we've seen a few in critical situations early.
Both teams having a problem hanging on. Both defenses living up to their ratings coming into the game, and so Denver will punt it again. Roland Hooks is back, along with Byron Franklin, almost blocked. Lucius Sanford almost blocked the punt. Bills let it roll and comes inside their 35-yard line down to the 30. Penalty markers also down, John, at the line of scrimmage. Denver might have released a man early, too far downfield.
They might have, but they almost released him for naught because Sanford was sitting right in the face of Prestridge, and Denver got a great bouncer that got him 20 yards after the punt hit the ground.
Morton's point, he wants an offside against Buffalo. Still, will be way short of a 1st down. It was a 4th and 8 play. And they did get the roll, as you pointed out, so they'll probably go with the play. We'll see.
They better take it. Didn't look pretty, but it worked.
Right tackle on defense was offside. Penalty refused. 1st down.
So the Broncos had the problem. Doubleheader day on NBC, including a big matchup at Texas Stadium, Irving, Texas. The Miami Dolphins running atop the AFC East, and the Dallas Cowboys starting to roll again. They'll be hooking up. Seattle plays the Jets at New York, San Diego at Chicago, Kansas City at Oakland. Doubleheader day on NBC. Right now we have no score in the 1st quarter as Ferguson throws. Man is open, but he loses the ball. Jerry Butler, super young player from Clemson, went up for the ball, couldn't come down with it. It'll be 2nd down and 10 for Buffalo. More scores coming in. St. Louis taking command of its game with Minnesota, now leading 10-0. Jim Hart just passed to Pat Tilley for 37 yards.
You never know which team you're going to play when you face St. Louis.
Oh, that is for sure. The Cowboys were beaten by them, and then they lose badly. And here is Lynn Dickey going to Lofton for 25 yards and a touchdown, and Green Bay and Detroit are tied 7-all. It's now 2nd down and 10 for the Bills. Ball just across their 32-yard line. 3:49 to play 1st quarter. This is Curtis Brown coming upfield. Penalty markers go down. Right at the line of scrimmage, a marker came flying in as Gradishar and Greg Boyd combined on the stop for the Broncos.
Little offensive holding. How often does it happen? Whenever you run a wide play, it looks like everyone's knocked down.
New England hit another field goal. John Smith now from 25 and 22 yards to give the Patriots a 6-0 lead over Washington. Patriots have a bad record, John, but I think we're going to hear from them before it's over.
You know, you said a mouthful there because
53 offense, holding, still 2nd down.
Will Grant doesn't hold. I know that. That must be a phony. You know, we talk about New England. Heretofore, they've gotten off to such a fast start. This year, they got started off on the schneid. They've come on a little of late, and late in the year, they just may surprise people.
A lot of personnel. Right now, it is 2nd down and 20 for Buffalo Bills with their worst field position. Ferguson working with the wind at his back here in the 1st quarter. Deep drop, gets time, throws a strike, and the ball is lost. Denver Broncos help that, though, with that hard strike. While we have a moment, let's switch back to NFL 81 in New York and Bryant Gumbel. Bryant?
Well, Don, it's raining at RFK Stadium down in the nation's capital, but the Patriots have taken a 6-0 lead over the Redskins on a pair of field goals by John Smith from 25 and 22 yards, brought in front 6-0 in the 1st. Don?
Okay, Brian, here in Buffalo, we have 3rd down and 20 coming up for the Bills. Scoreless 1st quarter, as you see. 3:37 to play in it. Bill and Frank Lewis wide right. Jerry Butler's out in the left flank. Tight end flexes. Lou Picone comes in as a slot to the right. Lots of people to run patterns. Ferguson stands in, gets time, swings it out. His tight end Bramer has it, but he can't get ahead the first down. And a penalty marker's down too.
Well, that hey, they just keep getting worse and worse field position. I don't know who it's on, but let's take a look at the wide scope. Now Denver does something that very few people. Okay, the penalty was refused, but let's take a look at these linebackers. They don't have to put in defensive backs to get into the deep zones, to cover halfbacks on out patterns. They got Tom Jackson out there and Gradishar. These guys are as fast as anybody in the game. They're darn near like defensive backs playing in there. So all they do is they take one linebacker out. It's usually Svensson. Then they put in an extra defensive lineman. They play the standard 4-3. They let everybody cover man-to-man, and they do a great job.
Joe Ferguson was saying, John, before the game, the Denver linebackers get into the various zones as fast as anybody they've seen. They set up so quickly. Now, Cater punts and gets off a huge hit downfield, and it's going to roll and roll, and that's got to be close to a record. Rolled into the end zone as Cater has been booming up high with the help of the wind. That one was good for 71 yards. So the Broncos, who thought they'd get good field position, start out again from their 20.
Well, it's not a fluke either. They've got a new fella that's a kick center, and don't think it's not important. A kid named Steve Alvers, who's a tight end, doubling up as a kick center, gets the ball back as fast as anyone, Cater says, gives him time to kick the ball the way he'd like, and his hang time has improved immeasurably.
We had a chance to look at Alvers snap the ball. It's like a guy throwing a fastball back there, comes back so hard.
I'll tell you, it's like trying to learn how to throw Sandy Koufax's fastball. Will Grant says, I've been trying to find out how he does it. I think it's in the genes.
Well, you want to be sure you catch it because it's going to go another 40 yards if it gets by the punter. Here's penalty markers down all over. Claudie Minor started to move early.
71 offense, full start.
While they're marking off this penalty, take a look at this center. Now, he is a tight end playing center. He's not too adept after he centers the ball. Egloff takes care of him, pushes him back. Here he is coming down the field. He's got good pursuit once he gets underway. He's got a long way to run.
Steve Alvers from Miami of Florida recently joined the Bills this year. And a big factor in Cater upping his punting average, about 6 yards a punt. That was the longest punt of Greg Cater's career, the 71-yarder. It's 1st and 15 now. Morton takes a look, stands in, throws over the middle, and Steve Watson, normally short-handed, loses the ball. What do you think the problem is, John, holding on? It's not that cold.
Well, that's the kind of play that he's run 93 and 95 yards on. Just a simple little up and in pattern. Morton made a great play in waiting till he got by the linebacker. And when you're in the middle of the field, he had to wait a little bit to get to him. It's amazing how many people you can put your attention on. I'm not saying he hears footsteps, but anybody that is a normal human being, when you have to wait and you're going across the middle, it does get a little tenuous in there.
I don't know if there's ever been a quarterback, John, that has seen the ups and the downs like Morton has had. He's heard the boos in 3 cities, Dallas, New York, and Denver, and he's heard the cheers in all 3. And this is his greatest season. He's the oldest player in the league. Now, in 2nd and 15, he gets time and takes a look and throws. Oh, and hit. Watson is leveled by Steve Freeman, the strong safety, and Watson bounces up like a greyhound somehow. What a strike.
Well, Morton just couldn't ask for any more time than this. This is a pattern that they're trying to get Watson on the break over the middle. However, on the break, he's very well covered by the inside linebackers. You see Shane Nelson, he tries to cut underneath him. Morton gets plenty of time. Oh, they didn't see Freeman.
Knocked out tackle, but Freeman didn't take him down for the count, and Watson's going to stay right in the game. Now he's coming out on the right flank. So is Rick Upchurch. Overload on that side. 3rd down and 15 for the Broncos. Shotgun. Morton setting up at his 10. Bill set for the big rush. Here it comes. Morton eludes Sherman White. Throws, and Riley Odoms catches the ball and loses it. Again, the hard hits in the Buffalo secondary split the receiver from the football.
That's all it is, Don, because Craig has put the ball where it should be thrown on all 3 of those plays. The receiver had his hands on him on all 3. He got plenty of pass protection to get the ball off, let the man run his pattern. You can see he's not quick, but he's pretty nifty in the pocket. Puts it to Riley Odoms. The first one you remember he dropped, he also dropped that one.
Rod Cush and Steve Freeman on that pop. Morton comes over, gets some counsel from Dan Reeves, and Luke Prestridge is out to punt again. Buffalo could get very good field position here. He's kicking into a wind. Gets it away, does well, hits it high. Wind holds it up somewhat. Byron Franklin, 38-yard line, 40. And the penalty marker goes down. A penalty marker goes down as Byron Franklin started straight ahead, then cut wide. 47-yard punt, an excellent punt into this wind by Prestridge. Hold on Buffalo. Bills have seen a lot of yellow flags early as this game is. 2:50 to play and at no score. NBC has followed boxer Johnny Bumpus through his days as an amateur and the National Golden Gloves in the Olympic trials. Now as a young pro, he gets a title shot. He fights Willie Rodriguez for the USBA junior welterweight crown.
Holding on the run back. 10-yard penalty, first down.
Bumpus versus Rodriguez next Saturday on NBC Sports World at 4 o'clock Eastern Time. Plus some spectacular action from the High Sierras in the National Hang Gliding Championships. Chuck Knox sees his team start out again, unable to move the ball so far. Joe Cribbs runs and runs well, gets across the 35 and out close to the 37. With 2:42 left to play in the first quarter and still no score, let's swing on back to New York and Bryant Gumbel.
Well, Don, although the Colts have lost 6 straight, they're managing to keep some semblance of pride in Cleveland. 4th and 1 situation, they stiffen 3 times. They stopped the Browns down on their own 1, but they're trailing 7-0. Don?
Got a good one going there, and one here in Buffalo. 2 of the best defenses, both pitch and shutouts through a quarter of play. John Brody.
We saw Cribbs make an outstanding run of a play that I think he should have lost yardage on. Rulon Jones made such a defensive play. He forced him outside. He's just been one dynamic individual. Number 75, Ken Jones, couldn't even get out on his block. Somehow he didn't have the pursuit he needed. The play picked up 4 yards, but it looked like it was going to lose about 6.
Rulon Jones has been something. He's up against one of the best offensive tackles in the league, and Ken Jones. While we have a break in the action here, let's go back to New York. Ryan?
Okay, Don, real quick on another game. This one down in nation's capital, RFK. Washington scoring for Washington. Theismann to Joe, good for 13 yards. It's 7-6 Redskins out in front. Don?
Nobody in the end zone here at Buffalo, though. Still 0-0. Don Criqui with John Brody. 2 minutes and 39 seconds left to play in the first quarter. A couple of Broncos have been shaken up in this game. Broncos with some tough scheduling ahead. They have to go home and next play Minnesota. Perry Smith was down on that last play. Backup corner who's played very well for him.
They've got some corners that play well here. They've got one playing free safety in Steve Foley, who might be an outstanding corner, but he is a great free safety. When that change was made, it seemed to solidify their whole defense because their strong safety, Thompson, I think, has been one of the outstanding players in this game for years. It just kind of solidified everything.
Well, one thing the Broncos have done is intercept the ball very, very well. Last year they had 16 all season. This year they have 13 in the first 7 games.
Not only interceptions, 9 fumbles. They've got they have so many sacks. They've caused so many problems defensively for other teams that, and they don't even count the hurries. To me, when you get like 18 sacks, 13 interceptions and 9 fumbles, you're a team that dominates on defense, and when they win, that's generally what they do.
Well, what is it they figure, John? For every sack, there's usually about 3 hurries that goes with it.
And number 75 is usually responsible for some of them.
Rulon Jones will hurry things up. Wide split in the defensive front. Ferguson out pattern, goes to Butler. Great catch at the 43-yard line. He's close to a first down. Jerry Butler is a spectacular athlete.
I don't think they're going to give it to him.
They're not going to give it to him. He held on, but apparently he was out of bounds when he came down with it.
All right, we're taking a look. This is Jerry Butler. He's got to put his other foot in bounds. He doesn't. He puts it right on the line. It's just another example of how we fans sit up here, criticize the officials, and then look at the replays and find out they were right. Buffalo has not picked up a first down, Don, in this game.
That is correct. With 2:18 to go in the first quarter, Jerry Butler once beat Harvey Glantz, who at the time was rated the fastest man in the world in a qualifying race at NCAA indoors. So you know Butler can go deep, and he will before long. He's doing it right now as Ferguson takes a long look, throws the ball. It is caught by Ron Jesse, and he is down to the 40-yard line. Ron Jesse, another of those ex-Rams who's come to Buffalo, catches the ball for a 24-yard gain, and all of a sudden the Bills do have their first down.
Yep, we mentioned they don't have one. They pick one up. Here's Ferguson. given the opportunity to wait long enough for his receivers to run their patterns. That time they double-teamed Rulon Jones, had a 3-man pass rush, got into the secondary. Jesse is not just another receiver. Let's take a look. Here's Jones. See Borchardt standing out there on him. Now who's he? Will Grant's coming over to help. He knows where to help. Nobody puts the pressure on Ferguson, and we get a first down.
And we go to live action, and Joe Cribbs on a 1st-and-10 carry takes it inside the 40, down close to the 37-yard line. Larry Evans, a good inside backer, 56 on the stop for Denver. Game clock down to 1:19 to play in the first quarter. Joe Cribbs could be the key to this game if he can bust the big runs, and that's something Denver has given up. Joe Delaney ran well against them last week when Kansas City beat the Broncos. Billy Sims ran very well at Mile High when Detroit almost beat the Broncos. The Orange Crush takes in 2nd down and 7. Bill showing the Bronco defense some different looks. Shifting in and out. Quick out. Butler catches the ball. Probably lost a yard with the reception.
Pretty good play by design, Don, but Ferguson was forced to hurry the throw a little bit, and in so doing lost his advantage.
Jerry Butler averages almost 20 yards a catch. He's been in the end zone 6 times.
It's interesting. We'll see some of Conrad Dobler, but he and Greg Boyd are having quite a go at it down there.
Conrad is something. Number 69 in your program, right guard. 3rd down and 7 now for Ferguson. Oh, man. That ball is so close every time to being caught or intercepted. Everybody has a play out.
Tell you.
Looking at Frank Lewis on the play, and he was open.
Well, Ferguson had enough time to throw. It's the linebacker problem that he faces. He's in between the 2 defensive backs, but he couldn't throw the ball right to Lewis because he's got an inside safety man that's playing it perfectly. It doesn't look so on your screen, but that was the situation. Frank misread it a little. He had to slide back out. Miscommunication. 4th down.
Again, the drive is stopped, and Caters out to punt again. Has hit it 3 times today for an average of 60 yards a punt. Now he puts a wedge shot up in the air, trying to bring it down inside the 10 if he can. Cush knocks it out. Look at that play. Inside the 2-yard line, Denver goes on offense. Rod Cush, number 42 from Nebraska to Omaha, was the guy downfield who dove at the ball.
Don, in games like this, it's plays like this that dictate the outcome. That's beyond the call.
So he rises on the final play of the first quarter, and we'll be back. More action after this. Good special teams play wins a lot of football games, and Rod Cush makes a great special teams play here for Buffalo, diving at the punt, knocking it out, keeps it from going into the end zone, and then it's downed. And the Broncos start out deep in their own end, but John Brody, they're so tough inside their 5.
This is where they seem to operate best. 95, 93 yards to Watson. See if they run that little up and in.
1st and 10. They're looking for a little room. Peros runs headlong into Isaiah Robinson. Football's free. Denver got it, but it's almost at the goal line. Maybe they blew it dead where Peros was first hit. That appears to be the case.
Boy, when that ball comes out, you see a scramble like you've never seen before. Preston was taking a look just to see if anything was going on down there. There's no hole. Peros tries to find one. At the line of scrimmage, they've shut things down so far. Isaiah Robinson trying to get a piece of the ball. Romes comes in, gets a little piece.
Well, I tell you, there's some Bills in there doing some sticking.
And the scrambling starts.
So now the Broncos and their quarterback Craig Morton with a problem. 2nd down and 8 from the 4. Here's a run, and a good run as Preston slashes and gets out to the 10-yard line. He's close to a first down. He'll be short of it by less than 2 yards. Dave Preston was knocked down by the strong safety Steve Freeman. We're in the second quarter, 14-15 to play in it, no score.
I get the feeling he was knocked down by an expectation of some resistance, and he didn't find any. He broke into the hole, and down there you very seldom break free. He did. He was going, his momentum carried him forward. He picked up about 7 or 8 yards, but didn't get anybody to hit him.
Big play now for the Denver Broncos. 3rd down and about 2. A little less than 2. Preston runs. It was tough yards. Going to be either way right here as he gets it out to close to the 12. He got the first down. So the Broncos get out of jail. They started out in their 3-yard line. Now they get it out and head for a first down.
Haven't been able to pick one up run-wise in the middle of the field, but now they get down in survival territory, and they move it out 3 runs.
So it's 1st and 10 coming up for Denver. Ball at the almost to the 14-yard line, just across the 13. No score in the game, second quarter. Cool day in the 40s. Harrows tries the middle. A 200-pound fullback has a problem moving it out. The second and long yard. Let's go back to New York, Brian.
Well, down at RFK, the Patriots have regained the lead. Watch Tony Collins follow 77 Gary Petts, 73 John Hanna. Great blocks in front, 6-yard touchdown. Point after no good. Patriots in front, 12-7. Don?
12-7 the number there. Thank you, Brian. Here in Buffalo, nothing up yet. Nothing close to being up. Defenses rating as 2 of the best in the National Football League have graded out just as strong today in the 8th game. Coming to the halfway point. Pitch and shutouts. 2nd down and 8, Denver. Tony Reed looks and weaves and finds his way ahead. Got a first down.
I'll tell you what happens when you try to get to the passer, and they've been getting to the passer pretty effectively today. They've been hurrying to Craig Morton. When you do that, you leave yourself vulnerable. Here's Sherman White, who's been the outstanding pass rusher for the Bills. Tries to get an outside release. When he does so, Tony Reed just takes it up in the hole that's created by the defensive end himself, picks up a first down. Good play selection.
That was a very good play selection as the Broncos move it out for a first down to their 25-yard line. Morton has a problem. He does get it away, and it's lost. We had men coming in. What's this now? Penalty marker comes in from off the plate. It's going to go against Buffalo, an interference call. Might be unnecessary roughness. Personal foul. That is the call, so the Broncos beneficiaries of a flag that gives them an automatic first down.
I'll tell you, you make a great play, and because of it, you get a penalty called on yourself. That time, Haslett jumped right over the center, got right in Morton's face, almost forced him to make a turnover. They get a penalty.
Personal foul, 26 defense, a late hit, first down.
Charles Rhodes.
Sometimes you can see the late hits, sometimes you can't, but we do see Haslett jumping right over the center. Forces Morton to make a throw. I thought he'd be sacked. Got away with it. And it was a little late.
They go to the run. Preston turns wide. Looked like there was almost a free ball there. The Bills swept in. Buffalo, a very intense defensive effort, and the Broncos have had the same. On a first down carry, Preston gets virtually nothing. Lucius Sanford was there, and so was 55, Haslett.
You wonder how good these athletes are. We see Paul Howard right now being able to push Haslett back, not at all. Now, these are linebackers against offensive guards. When they can hold their own, you know you've got a defense.
Lots of wide receivers in now. Haven Moses in the game, way out to the left. He played 4.5 seasons here in Buffalo. Morton on 2nd and 10, cocks his arm and lets her rip, and the ball is tipped by Rick Upchurch. Nearest man to the ball was Mario Clark.
There weren't any Denver fellas too close to the ball, nor were there any Bills, but I'll tell you what, they were all very close to Upchurch. All right, Watson is coming out on a pattern. You can see sometimes you have to go to your secondary receiver just because when the man makes his break, can't maintain his balance.
You can fully understand why Watson's checking out who's coming at him after that pop put on him by Freeman. So it's going to be 3rd down and 10 for the Broncos at their 40. No score, 10:59 to play first half. Craig Morton, who came out of California, is the #1 draft choice of Dallas in 65, now in his 17th year, trying to get the Broncos on the Buffalo side of the field. Here's a blitz. What a play. Ron Cush again, 42.
All right, he was the man assigned. They had 8 people trying to get to Morton, only 6 people blocking for him. 2 fellas actually came free, but Cush was there first.
One thing about Morton, John, when he sets up, you know where to find him. He doesn't move around much.
That's right. He's pretty nifty in there, Don. He's not very quick, and you know when he is in the shotgun, he's not going to run the ball. So they just put everybody man-to-man on his wide receivers, shot everybody else after him, and got him.
So Luke Prestridge is in to punt again. Hooks and Franklin back for the Bills, standing at their 25. High punt, carries deep with the wind. Hooks has a problem. Oh man, look at this. It goes in. The Broncos couldn't hold it out. It is a touchback. Very nearly did the Broncos down the ball on the 1. Mike Harden coming down fast to make a play at it. That wind helped. That was a 67-yard punt by Luke Prestridge. Bills going offense when we come back. This is Don Criqui with John Brody back at Rich Stadium, Orchard Park, New York. No score in this game. The Bills and the Broncos. Nothing in the second quarter. 1st and 10 Buffalo at their 20. Ferguson to Cribbs, got the whole student body in front of him, and he gets out to the 23-yard line.
Don, you know, you take a look and you talk about age in the National Football League. We've got a fella with a little age. His knees have been bad over the years. That doesn't mean they keep him from pulling. Conrad Dobler, number 69, jumps out, gets back. He's still able to lead offensive backs. He gets out on the cornerback. When he gets on Billy Thompson, he does a fine job and allows Cribbs to cut back, pick up a few yards. So just because you're 32 doesn't mean you can't move.
Well, as Big Conrad says, I went to the Pro Bowl 3 times, and I got voted there by the other players. I must have been all right at one time.
He's been voted a lot of things.
Second down and 6. Joey Cribbs gets ahead for big yardage. Buffalo's biggest run from scrimmage. Advances the ball to the 33-yard line. Larry Evans makes the knockdown. Buffalo guards moving it out. A 10-yard gain on the play. Cribbs has been a big factor in Buffalo's success as a rookie. He was a key player in their 11-5 season a year ago in the playoffs in the Eastern Division Championship.
All right, they've got John Borchardt in place of Reggie McKenzie, so they're not pulling their guards too well because Borchardt isn't the same type of athlete as McKenzie. Very strong, very good, but he's not McKenzie. They've been able to go with straight ahead blocking on the last 2 plays, except for Dover, pick up a first down.
Bright sunshine reflecting down as Cribbs goes to the run again. Straight ahead on a 1st and 10 carry. He advances the ball to the 37-yard line where Reuben Carter, the middle guard, got him. Reuben's been something. 6 feet tall, 260, out of Miami of Florida. Wasn't drafted till the 5th round when he came in 75, but he's been one of Denver's best players. Reuben likes that middle guard in the double team because he said when they're double teaming me, that frees up somebody else.
You know, Don, we've been featuring quite a bit of line play early in the ball game, and for a simple reason. It usually dictates the outcome when you're playing 2 teams that play this well defensively. You've got to get some offensive surge against one of them.
Latimer's in the middle guard now. Don Latimer. Bills go back to the run, and all of a sudden Buffalo on the snap of the ball is coming out of the blocks like sprinters and blowing out the Orange Crush.
That's right. They don't expect to do that for a steady diet, but they've had 4 plays, picked up 2 first downs. Right now, it gives Joe Ferguson the option, the luxury, to either throw the ball on a play-action pass, continue with what he's been doing effectively. I expect to see him go up top. It's about turn for Frank Lewis or Butler. Cribbs will do it for you if you give him a little hole.
Now Latimer goes back out at middle guard. He's staying in there. Don Latimer, the middle guard. It's 1st down and 10 for Buffalo. Swing pass goes to Curtis Brown. Penalty markers fly down. It's going to go against Rulon Jones for roughing. He came in, a personal foul on Denver.
And Don, it was roughness, but it was not any sort of a dirty lick. Rulon Jones, about the only thing he has to learn in this game, because he's in the quarterback's face every time he's in a pass rush, is when to pull up and when not to.
Well, this big assessment.
Personal foul, 75 defense, roughing the passer, 1st down.
So now the Bills have their best field position, but this isn't field goal range inside the 35-yard line. They're working into the wind in the second quarter.
Okay, the ball's gone, and you saw Ferguson on his backside, so you know something had to happen.
Now to live action, 1st down and 10, back to the run, back to Curtis Brown. Great defensive play by the Denver corner, Aaron Kyle. Filled and held and stopped the run. So there's no gain on the play. Now let's go back to New York. Ryan?
Down in Cleveland, the Browns have scored again against the Colts. This is Brian Sipe firing up his 9th touchdown pass of the year. A 22-yarder to Greg Pruitt as the Browns in front 14-0 in the second period. Don?
Those Browns are heading here to Buffalo next week. Go against the Bills. That game, which you see on many of these NBC stations, was sold out months ago. Cleveland and Buffalo rivals dating back to the old All-America Football League. 2nd down and 10 now for Buffalo. 35-yard line of Denver. Ferguson puts it up, and there's a misconnection as Frank Lewis was hooking back, and Ferguson was throwing the corner pattern down close to the goal line.
I think, Don, it was an intended throwaway. You can always get away with making it look like a miscommunication if there's nobody in the ballpark, and he got a pretty good rush on the play. Frank Lewis was not into his pattern far enough for him to be able to wait, and I think he just filed it into the cheap seats.
Well, Ferguson got out of trouble with it, but it leaves the Bills with 3rd down and 10 coming up at the 34-yard line of Denver. Byron Franklin and Ron Jesse now join the receiver corps for Buffalo. Byron Franklin's really can fly. He's out in the left field. Jerry Butler, who's just as fast, is right next to him. Jesse and Lewis on the right. 3rd down and 10. Byron Franklin going for the ball. Loses it in the end zone. The rookie from Auburn had a hand on it. He and Aaron Kyle beaten. But it comes up short. And Cater comes back out. They're not going to try a field goal into the wind.
It was just one of those plays where he caught, and very seldom do you catch Steve Foley looking into the backfield. He got there too late. Had the ball been thrown a little better, or had the receiver made a little better play, Franklin had a chance to get it. Would have been a great catch, but he's got to come up with those.
Now Cater, who's punted so well today, you'll recall his last was down inside the 2-yard line on a great play by Rod Cush. Will try to drop the ball back inside the 10 again if he can. Wade Manning's the only man back for the Broncos. Field position critical in this game with these great defenses. An up back. What was this? Well, a penalty marker goes down, and so does the football at the 41-yard line. Rod Cush ended up with the ball and 2 Broncos on him.
Did not report.
Well, they had nothing going for them on that play. Had they fooled the defense, they'd still have a 5-yard penalty and then have to punt again. So that's one of those times.
Illegal substitution. 41 did not report. Penalty refused. 1st down.
You wait all season long to get a good situation to run a play like that, Don, and then you don't report. He probably got so anxious he forgot.
I'll tell you, the Broncos love it. They could have started out deep in a hole. Now they get relatively good field position. They start out at their 40, 1st and 10 in a scoreless game. 7:02 to play in the 1st half. Morton spreads out 3 wide receivers on 1st down. Quick timing pattern. In the flat he goes, and the ball is off the hands of Preston. Another penalty marker flies in. The Bills have not had a holding call against the opposition in about 115 passes. Against them. They feel their pass rush has been maligned. The officials aren't giving them the holds. This is a personal foul against Buffalo.
Personal foul. 55. 1st down.
Hazlitt called for it. This one's been rough, and it's going to get rougher.
Well, I think the officials have very good control of it. That time, I think Morton was looking around to see, hey, did he hit me? Who was that on?
But they will take it. Now the Broncos across midfield. Pitch back. Rick Parros turns upfield and gets close to the Bills' 42-yard line. Broncos, don't forget, here in the 2nd quarter are working with a strong wind at their back. But their place kicker, Freddie Steinfort, who was the best in the NFL with over 76% of his field goals made last year, hasn't been able to hit it this year. 5 of 14. Hazlitt made the stop. A gain of 4 yards on the play. It's going to be 2nd down and 6. Don Criqui with John Brody. Rich Stadium, Orchard Park, New York. 6:26 to play in the 2nd quarter. A scoreless game. The Broncos on offense. Moving it out with the run with the benefit of penalties. Morton play fake, and he's looking at Watson. Now he swings it out. Parros has the ball, and Rick Parros is ahead for a Denver 1st down to the Buffalo 32-yard line.
Don, you remember earlier we talked about Craig Morton getting by because he's intelligent. That time he's trying to get down the field to Watson all the way. It's a little fake draw play. It was effective earlier. They try to get it down to Watson this time. He wasn't open, so they have to come off to Peros. Remembering where your alternate receivers are is a very big part of this game.
Right now, we're going to pause briefly for station identification. This is the NBC television network.
KNBC Los Angeles, Fred Rogan with scores on News Center 4.
So Freddie Steinfort on the far sideline, getting his leg ready for Denver. 3 points might be the difference when this one is over. Nothing score. Handoff on first down. Preston runs and runs well, and Preston is down to the 23-yard line of Buffalo. He got almost 10 yards. So the Broncos get the big run as the right side of their offensive line crashes open a hole.
Both sides are starting to move the ball a little better offensively, and it happens at the line of scrimmage. This time Preston is on a little, it's a counter sort of play. Start one way, go the other. Gets a good hole at the point of attack and a good block from Peros. Picks up about 9.
So the Broncos are challenging now. Second down and about a yard. Bills dig in. Wide receivers off to the left side. To the run, nothing. Loss of a yard on the play. Smirlis makes the knockdown. So the Bill defense holds on that play. Let's go back to New York now. Brian?
Well, down in the voting for worst defense in pro football, the Baltimore Colts deserve serious consideration. Brian Sipe airing this one out, a 40-yarder. Dave Logan right between 2 defenders puts the Browns up 21-0 over the Colts, who've now lost 6 straight. Don?
Thanks, Brian. Browns have had their problems, John.
Well, you know, you can't.
Not today.
As fast as Sipe is scoring passes, you wonder what the other team's offense is doing. I mean, Burt Jones, pretty good quarterback. They must be 1-2 in interception or punt.
Sounds like Cleveland's having a track meet. Moving up and down the field. Third down and 3. Morton gets it away. Came in on the 1 hop. Official stood there and watched it, but Upchurch got it on the 1 hop. That brings up 4th down, and now the pressure's on Fred Steinfort. They called in the father of Chris and Matt Barr, the soccer coach at Penn State, to work with Fred Steinfort this week. Fred was telling us, John, it's a lot like the golf swing. If the head comes up, the ball doesn't go where you want it to.
I know about the golf swing. I don't know much about kicking that football.
It's going to be a 43-yard attempt. It's no problem the distance. Wind at his back. Block. Free ball. They like all that in Buffalo. We'll be back after this. The Steinfort field goal attempt. Let's watch and see if we can see the man who gets a hand on it. There's the ball in the air, and going way up is big Buster Barnett, a rookie from Jackson State, a tight end who made the team because he was such a tough special teams player and such a tough blocker. An 11th round choice. He's the only Bill draft choice in the last draft who's getting appreciable playing time. Joe Cribbs on first down runs, and the Broncos don't give him much. That was 53. Gradishar, one of the great players at his position in the league's history, making the stop for Denver. Green Bay now easing on back in front of Detroit as Bart Starr very much under fire from the front office at Wisconsin. Stenerud hit a field goal. NFL 81 at halftime. Brian Gumble will be standing by with all the scores and the highlights as we come to the halfway point today. St. Louis extending its lead over Minnesota to 13-3. Pitch back, second down and 8. Cribbs running hard, a slashing runner, eludes one tackler, then dives ahead and gets to the 18-yard line. Bring up third and about 4. Louis Wright got him. 3-time All-Pro at corner. Cribbs a tough guy, not too big, 5'10", 190.
And he's got the man with him, Curtis Brown, who's been an awful good lead blocker over the years. They're trying to get to Billy Thompson. He's a tough man to handle himself. But when Billy has taken the contain, he's getting good pursuit from his linebackers. And even when they break at the point of attack, none of them are going for large gains. Both defenses are really controlling.
We've seen some Hall of Fame strikes in this game, some real hits. It's amazing there's been no fumbles. Third down and 4, and the Bills go to the shotgun. Ferguson stands in. He throws up the middle, and the ball is knocked away. Nicely done by Dennis Smith. The #1 draft choice of the Denver Broncos out of Southern California. Spectacular athlete, was a 7-foot high jumper in college. Comes in as the extra defensive back, and so the Bills have to punt it again, but now the Broncos could be beneficiaries of that wind and the punt, as Cater, who hit one with the wind at his back 71 yards earlier, now punts into the wind. Wade Manning standing at his 39.
You know, and to take a look at Dennis Smith, he's getting a chance to play some because they're going into that shotgun with their 4 wide receivers. They have to put in a 5th defensive back.
Cater stands in, hits the ball very well, high and downfield. He forces Manning into a fair catch. That was probably the best ball of the day that Cater has hit. Rockets it all the way down inside the 40-yard line of the Broncos. A 45-yard punt into the wind. And in the scoreless game, Denver goes on offense when we come back. We've got a good one going here in Buffalo. Don Criqui with John Brody. 2:16 left to play in the first half and no score on the board. Greg Morton has hit on only 2 of 11 pass attempts. He came in, as you know, as a 66% forward this season. 2 of 11 for only 18 yards. Now he's looking at Watson, and Watson is open. And Steve Watson makes the reception inside the 30-yard line of Buffalo, down to the 25. So the Broncos finally strike long.
And you wonder, every move has a reason. And this time he went out and he faked up Church. They were revolving into his side. He's doing that to get Bill Simpson out of his hair. Get one-on-one. Roams. See, when he makes the move over here, all he wants to do is move Simpson a little bit. He does that. It allows him to throw the ball over Freeman's head. Gets it right to Watson. They pick up a first down in scoring territory.
38-yard gain. The Broncos are rolling now.
In Cleveland, the Colts are on the board against the Browns. Burt Jones, 4 yards to Curtis Dickey, has the Colts down 21-7 as they near the half. Let's go back to Rich Stadium. Don Criqui and John Brody.
Thank you, Bryant. You're wondering, John, about Burt Jones. All of a sudden, he's heard from, but might be late.
Home.
Baltimore really having problems. We talked to those Cincinnati coaches. They said, we played the Colts. Our guys weren't open. We couldn't find anybody on the films around them. Wonder Anderson had a big day. Morton stands in and gets hit as he throws the ball. And Shane Nelson had a play on the football at the 6. Morton was hit hard in the small of the back by Lucius Sanford. But he put some slug into his tackles, this Georgia Tech linebacker, Lucius Sanford.
Well, it was a little linebacker combination. They haven't been getting to Morton very well with their 3 linemen. When they send their backs and occasionally their defensive backs, they've been able to get to him, and they have fooled him a couple times in pass protection. That was a pickoff opportunity you don't want to let get away when you play a team as opportunistic as Denver.
Morton has been something. When he's had the time, he's been picking people out. There's been a lot of drop balls in this game. Now it's going to be 2nd down and 10 Denver. 25-yard line of Buffalo in a scoreless game with less than 2 minutes to go in the first half.
Here they come. Ron, we mentioned when they send their backers or their backs, they seem to be getting pressure on Morton and confusing the offensive alignment of the Broncos. That was about the 4th occasion when they've either sacked him, rushed him, what have you, and it's all been with backs and backers.
That was the 3rd sack of Morton for 29 yards. That was an 11-yard loss in that particular play. Morton standing in, throws long. Watson is open. Touchdown, Denver. Steve Watson coming off the right flank, runs the post pattern. 36 yards and a touchdown. First score of the game.
All right, Don, usually you give credit to the offense when they make a long play like that, but in this particular instance, Steve Watson makes a hook and go, but who cares about the hook, man? You're standing down there, all you've got to protect is your goal line. They've got about 25 yards to go for a first down. This is something that very rarely happens to Bill Simpson. They gave more than enough time to throw it. Watson beats him. Touchdown.
So Morton and Watson combined on their 10th scoring strike of this season. Watson averaging a touchdown reception. Almost 1 in 3 of his catches have gone the distance. A free agent receiver who's been the big difference in the Denver receiving game, and now Steinfurt gets the extra point way up in the air and through, and the Denver Broncos finally strike. First points up in this game with 1:15 to go in the first half. It's 7-0 Denver. They'll kick off when we come back.
At RFK Stadium in the rain, John Smith has put the Patriots 3 more points farther ahead of the Redskins with a 46-yard field goal. It's Patriots 15, Redskins 7 in the second. Don?
Thanks, Brian. Redskins a contender in the Marcus Allen Bowl. The last shall be first in the NFL draft, and they're working on it.
But they're going to get a good one.
Kickoff. 2 rookies, Rob Riddick, Byron Franklin are back. With the win, the ball carries out through the end zone. And so the Bills will go on offense at their 20 with not a lot of time, 1:14 to play in the half.
Well, let's take one more look at the touchdown pass. 3rd and very long yardage. Any sort of underneath pass is fine. We mentioned they haven't been getting enough pressure on Morton when they just run their linemen. They did that on this occasion. Simpson was trying to come up, make a big play and an interception. Instead, it cost him 6.
The Broncos strike long. They got the big gainer, you'll remember, to Watson earlier to get down close. Then after the sack by Cush, they go into the end zone. Morton to Watson. Joe Ferguson's thrown the ball 12 times, has completed only 4 for 36 yards for Buffalo, and he's working right out of the shotgun and first down. They've got a long way to go. He stands in, he throws. Ball is tipped by Gradishar. That Gradishar just covers the whole field.
You got it. This is when it's most dangerous to be trying to pick Denver apart. After they've made a big play, they come back. They're looking for something opportunistic. There's a minute 10 to go. It's fine to throw the ball, and Joe Ferguson is one of the best at doing so, but he better be careful right here.
Broncos really play that zone defense with a speed at linebacker. Gradishar, who Woody Hayes called the best backer we ever had at Ohio State, moving all over the field from his inside linebacker position. It's 2nd down and 10 now for Buffalo. Ferguson takes a look in the flat. Man's there. Frank Lewis catches the ball. First down reception at the 33-yard line, but the clock's running. It's down to 1:04. I don't know if the Bills know that. They think he's out of bounds.
He is out of bounds. I don't know how they could call it in the field of play.
Clock is running as the Bills align without a huddle. 1st and 10. Game clock down to 52 seconds to play. Broncos leading 7-0. Ferguson with time. Now throws. Out of bounds. 44 seconds to play.
Now that was close. That was the kind of move that a guy like Frank Lewis makes, and it looks so easy you don't notice the problems that he has. They ruled he had 1 foot off the ground when he caught the ball and went out of bounds, but it was close.
Tell you, John, Ron Jesse, talk about running a fly pattern. He was 80 yards down the field. And the Bills need that kind of distance now as they're out to their 33-yard line. 2nd down and 10 coming up. 44 seconds left in the first half. Broncos got off the schneid here with a 36-yard strike. Morton to Watson. Now the Bills trying to come back. It's 7-0 Denver. Up the middle. Jerry Butler loses the ball. Jerry Butler, who is an acrobat, goes up in the air, and Thompson thought he might have intercepted. He throws the ball down.
Yeah, he thought he might have intercepted, but I'll tell you what, if Butler had grabbed that ball and held on, he was gone because there was nobody in his area. It's the kind of break a Buffalo needs right now because they have not converted any of the good field positions they've had. They've dropped an awful lot of balls in 3rd down situations. This is an extremely well thrown ball. We've seen Butler catch these and take them in. This time he just solid dropped it.
The Bills attach critical importance to this game. They feel if they win, make the turn at 5-3, they're going to be a contender. They lose, they could be in big trouble at 4-4 heading into a tough second half of the season. Ferguson throws, man is there. Lewis catches the ball, works to get out of bounds and does. At the 48, he's got a first down.
They're still running that clock. Then finally they stop. I don't believe. They must have said he stopped him before he went out of bounds. That forces them to call a timeout.
Or they were just confused. But the game clock shows 29 seconds to play. First half. We'll be back at Buffalo after this. Sitting announcement was furnished as a public service by the National Football League. Don Quickie with John Brody, Rich Stadium, Orchard Park, New York, and here's the last play.
Don, I was a bit critical of the play before this when they kept the clock running. You see Frank is trying to get out of bounds. They have ruled he was stopped before he had an opportunity to do so. Forced him to take a timeout, and we're back in action.
Ferguson throwing the home run ball. Byron Franklin goes up, comes down without it. Comes up empty on first down, and the game clock's down to 22 seconds. Ferguson pumping into the wind as the long distance throw. See where Ferguson stands in touchdown throws. I think Fouts has 18, doesn't he? At any rate, he's just behind Dan Fouts.
Well, you know, it's a little misleading, though, when you talk about touchdown passes, because the structure of Buffalo's is not at all like that of San Diego. San Diego comes out firing from the locker room, and their whole offense is Fouts throwing to Joyner, Fouts throwing to whoever. In this case, you've got Ferguson throwing in situations primarily, all right? And I think that he has been so effective throughout the year, it goes unnoticed.
Well, he spreads his people out to either side. Second down and 10. 22 seconds to play in the half. Bills off. Offensive line doing a big job. There's a man open. Mark Bramer, the tight end. And Bramer wisely gets out of bounds. He's on the Denver side of the field with 14 seconds to play in the half. They need a lot more distance, though, to be in field goal range with this win.
I think they have to get it inside the 30. Anything under 45, 46 yards is realistic. But that means they've got to get a 15, 16-yard gain in the next 14 seconds. They've still got a couple timeouts left.
Joe Ferguson, one of the Louisiana quarterbacks in the league. Of course, he played collegiately at Arkansas, was a third-round draft choice. State of Louisiana. Lots of starters. Ferguson here at Buffalo. He's from Shreveport. Terry Bradshaw went to the same high school. Woodlawn High, Shreveport. Burt Jones from Baltimore, David Woodley at Miami. Here's a throw and a strike. Ball is caught by Bramer. The Bills got to the 33. 8 seconds left. They call it timeout.
I'll tell you how important that was. They called a timeout. He called one. By saving 2 seconds, he's got a chance to make another completion, set the ball down, call a timeout with about 2 seconds. It takes about 6 seconds for a complete play to be finished. Had he let 2 seconds more go off the clock, had he been a little lost, they'd have had no chance to complete another ball.
NFL 81, halftime coming up. You know, they talked, John, at the outset of this season with the balance in the league now. I think the play so far has borne that out, that it's going to take a lot less of a winning record possibly to get in the playoffs this year. There's not going to be as many 11-5s, if any.
I agree with that, Don. I think there might be a few 11-5s, but there is not the one team that stands out above the rest. There are about 10 teams of equal magnitude, and you know, you have to put the Philadelphias, the Dallases, and in this side you've got this team right here. Denver's another one. Miami's playing great football, but there's an awful lot of equality, and big plays, one individual making a big play will determine whether a team gets into the playoffs or not.
Well, we've seen the only score this day, a big play. Watson getting free, going into the end zone on the reception end of a 36-yard touchdown pass play from Greg Morton. And now with 8 seconds left, the Bills looking to get close.
And I think they'll try it by throwing an out to either guy. They've got Frank Lewis on the flank. They could throw an out to him real quick.
And the corner's 100 yards off. Here's a throw. Here's a strike. Joe Foots out of bounds. 3 seconds left. You got it. Perfect execution by the Bills. So now Buffalo sends out its field goal unit. Very well conceived drive. They started out with 1:14 on the game clock at their own 20.
Real good pass protection, Don. They gave Ferguson all the time he needed to allow his backs to run patterns in complement with the wide receivers, and it was very well thought out.
Nick Mickmeyer is the place kicker. See how he stands. 3 for 6 from 40 to 49 yards. It's going to be a 41-yard attempt, almost 42. Kick is high enough and long enough. He's got it. So final play of the half. The Bills score. Buffalo hits the 41-yard field goal. Nick Mickmeyer. And the game is airtight as we go to halftime. 7-3 is the count. Reeves and his Broncos in the lead. We'll be back after this.
Okay, Don Criqui, thank you very much. Welcome back to our NFL 81 studios in New York. Denver and Buffalo going at it. Rick Stadium, good ball game there. As you know, it's 7-3. But there's a lot happening around the league today, so let's try to get you all caught up. Let's start with the ball game that you've been enjoying. It's been a defensive struggle all along throughout the first half until Craig Morton got things heated up, and Mickmeyer put 3 on the board just before the half ended. But as you know, the Denver Broncos tied for the lead in the AFC West, out in front by a score of 7-3. Dan Reeves' club been a surprise this year. They come into this one 5-2. Buster Barnett blocked a 48-yard field goal attempt by Fred Steinford to maintain the shutout. That was until Craig Morton got heated up. 36-yarder into the arms of Steve Watson. 10th touchdown catch of the year for Watson. That had the Broncos up 7-0, but before the half ended, Steve Mickmeyer from 41 yards out makes good to bring Buffalo to within 4. It's 7-3 with a half to play. The New England Patriots are visiting the nation's capital today, and they're having their hands full with the Redskins. Although the Skins are just 1-6, the Patriots out in front by just a point now as that game nears the half. It's 15-14. A touchdown for the Redskins on an exciting punt return by Mike Nelms. This one's being played in the rain, and Joe Theismann got the Redskins off and winging, throwing this one to Art Monk, getting the Redskins in good field position. But it was 2 Patriot field goals that had the Patriots up 6-0 before Theismann completed one to Joe Washington to put them in front 7-6. Then Grogan to Don Hasselbeck. This one setting up another score. It set up this run by Tony Collins. He followed Gary Petz and John Hanna around the side to move the Patriots in front 12-7 at the time. They got a field goal to make it 15-7, and then this just moments ago. A punt going away to Mike Nelms. He takes it on his own 25, sheds one tackler, does a little dipsy-doodle, finds some daylight, and then down the side he goes. A Pro Bowl performer last year, Nelms goes 75 yards for the touchdown to move the Redskins to within a point. It's 15-14, and as we said, that ball game nearing the half. The Baltimore Colts have the worst defense in the AFC. They have lost 6 in a row.
Broncos 7, the Buffalo Bills 3. John, we know about the great defenses. We knew that coming in. Do you think Buffalo might be a little bit conservative attacking Denver's Orange Crush?
Don, I've looked at that, and they've thrown the ball 21 times, but so many were late in the first half. I think they were. They've fallen into the trap where they let Denver get a little bit ahead. Then they start throwing the ball. Remember, they didn't want to give any turnovers to Denver. They're the leader in the league in that department. They haven't done that, but they haven't done what they really like to do personality-wise. Get the ball to Frank Lewis. Get the ball over to Mark Bramer. Throw the ball to Jerry Butler. When he has, they haven't come up with it, so they've got to start doing that.
One area of the Buffalo football team that hasn't been conservative is the defense. Rod Cush, who's a fun guy. He likes to train attack dogs as a hobby, but he's come on a couple of blitzes, and that's been effective.
I think when they have been effective defensively, they've either shot their backers or their defensive backs. If they can fool Denver, they can keep their drives from going down the field, but that's the way they've been able to do it. I think Denver right now is leading the ball game by 4 points, and that's the reason that's where they should be. I think they're about 4 points better in the first half.
Well, they've had the big play, and that's what you have to have. I think we're going to see people looking for the big play again, though, John.
I saw Bill Simpson let somebody by him that he very seldom does when Steve Watson scored a touchdown. I don't think you'll see that again.
Well, we'll be back with the second half kickoff here in Buffalo with the Bills trailing the Denver Broncos 7-3. Rich Stadium sold out. The biggest crowd of this National Football League day on the 8th week of play. Over 80,000 are here as the Denver Broncos, coming in with the #1 defense in the National Football League, have held the Bills to 3 first half points. Denver leading 7-3, and John Brody, there are the statistical numbers.
Well, when you take a look at 4 for 14 for Morton, you say, geez, he had a bad half. They really weren't able to put many yards on the board or points. That's not right. Morton threw the ball very well, but he had a couple dropped by Riley Odoms that stopped their drives. He had a couple dropped by Watson. Finally, he made a great throw for a touchdown to Watson, and you got to credit his offensive line for giving him enough time to allow Watson to get all the way down the field, hook, take a look back at Morton, suck Simpson up, go down for the 6 points. So they've been able to do what they want. This group hasn't.
Not yet anyway, but you know they're going to be working at it. 2 of the highest rated quarterbacks in the league. Morton coming in with a 110 rating. Ferguson well over 90. And coming in with 16 touchdowns throws. Second to Dan Fouts of San Diego. But the Bills have not been in the end zone yet. Now they'll get the ball. Working into a lesser wind as we open the third quarter. Here's the kickoff by Steinfort. Hits it well with the wind is back. Byron Franklin had a notion, but then he was cautioned. Here's a penalty marker down. Penalty marker came down after the ball was down at about the 12-yard line. Official saw something he didn't like. We've seen a few things.
They do that a lot.
That's right.
See Burl Toller down there, a fellow that was an ex-USF great, been an excellent official for a number of years in this league.
Bills had 4 penalties against them in the first half. This is their 5th of the game. Denver's had 2 for 20 yards. Bills will start out in a hole.
You know, and for as much hitting as has taken place in this game, that is not many penalties.
It really isn't. And there have been some ferocious hits. Another interesting aspect of those first half numbers was the fact, John, there's been no turnovers so far in the game.
That's right. And you know, it's funny. I think sometimes an official will take charge early. Everybody knows he's in control, and from there on, the game is played without incident.
It was a threat of rain at the outset of this day. They looked for even sleet. It was down in the 20s here in Buffalo last night on the great Niagara frontier of western New York. This town is buzzing over the Bills, has been the last couple of years. And now the Bills feel they're in a corner on the ropes. They've got to start winning. They've been so up and down. They've played with enormous intensity. One big.
Illegal use of the hands on number 53 of the receiving team while the ball was in the air. That's a previous spot penalty. The penalty is refused. Receiver's ball on the 20.
If you would extrapolate there, John.
I'm going to leave that one for you.
Whatever, they're going to start out at the 20 with Ferguson at quarterback. Cribbs and Brown are the runners. There's the receivers, Butler, Lewis, and Bramer the tight end. Jones has done a good job against another Jones, Rulon of Denver. So has Borchardt, the guard. They've been mixing it up on the blocking against Rulon. Jones, the best pass rusher on the Denver team. 1st and 10, and Ferguson's looking long. Out in the flat, he throws, and the ball is caught by Lewis, and he turns upfield. Back at the official to see if he's stepped up and down. Bills get 20 on the first play from scrimmage.
Don, that's the kind of play that you can't believe the timing on. When Frank Lewis turned around, and we've been talking about what a great athlete he is, let's just examine some of the athletic ability you have to make a turn like this. Here's the ball. It's sitting right in your face. You have to pick it up and handle it. He stayed inbounds also, picked up a big first down. And I think you'll see Ferguson firing that ball on first down a little more often.
They're going to spout it out to the 38, so it's an 18-yard gain. The Bills trailing 7-3. First down. Going to come out pitching is Joe Ferguson. He doesn't like to run, but he's got some room now. Now he throws on the run and gets another man. That ball was caught. 44-yard line to Denver. Frank Lewis again. Lewis right, Lewis left, Lewis up the middle.
You know how he got time to throw a ball like this? We saw him get enough time on first down, pick up the first. Here's another. Conrad Dobler with Barney Chavis. You can see those guys' arms extended. He thinks maybe I'll grab a face mask a little. No, they won't see that one. They don't. He slips around to the left. Ferguson now is at count 5, count 6, count 7. Finally picks up Lewis. Dobler's done his job, and they've got another first down.
You had talked at halftime, John, about the conservative attack of Buffalo, and they've certainly come out with a much more wide-open game. Throwing the ball consecutively for 18-yard gains. Now they go to the run, and Joe Cribbs takes it down to the 40. Tom Jackson, 57, was on the stop. Active, aggressive linebacker. Chavis, Reuben, Carter, and Rulon Jones across the front. Latimer will alternate with Carter. The linebackers were a big factor in Denver's success in the first half, holding Buffalo down. Swenson, Evans, Gradishaw was superb again, and Jackson. Wright and Kyle, Foley and Thompson, a group that's keyed the interception game of Denver with 13 through the first 7 games. No turnovers either way today so far. 2nd down and 7 for Buffalo. Back to the pass. Here's the blitz. They pick it up. Ferguson throws. Lewis was turning in, and Ferguson threw out.
He had to throw it where he threw it, Don. They wanted to go inside to Mark Bramer. He couldn't do that because Gradishaw was standing all over the top of him. It was a perfect situation to kind of hook Bramer right around the linebacker, but Gradishaw plays deep. Look, he's about 4 yards deep from the line of scrimmage, and he gets into his pass defense so well. Bramer would like to have gone to the inside. He couldn't. Gradishaw took that away and jumped right in front of him. That's why he's an all-pro.
6'3", 230, runs the 40 and 4.6 and covers the pass like a corner. Great athlete. He has been the key to the Orange Crush defense. Ferguson 3rd down, throws and almost intercepted. The Broncos closed in on the ball. Aaron Kyle had a play on it.
Give that one to number 75, Donnie. Rulon Jones again jumped in there, forced him to throw it a little before he wanted to. That's why you see Ron Jesse, when he turns around, the ball's by him. If your receivers can't run their routes, you got no case.
No case. The Bills moved it well. Ferguson with those consecutive throws to Frank Lewis for 18 yards and 18 yards, but then the Orange Crush holds, and now Cater in for his 6th punt of the game. Averaging almost 52 a punt. Wade Manning is the lone man back for the Bronx. High punt, and he put that up there like a...
Guess it was high.
Takes a hop. Out of bounds. Well done by Greg Cater, the Buffalo punter. Broncos start out deep in their own end. Punt was only 25 yards, but it was right where they wanted it to be. And so the Broncos will go on offense for the first time in the second half when we come back. Doubleheader day on NBC, a good one coming up at Texas Stadium. The Dolphins and the Cowboys. Also coming up, Seattle at New York. San Diego against the Bears at Soldier Field. Right now, we've got a lot going in Buffalo as the Broncos holding to a 7-3 lead, open from scrimmage for the first time in the third quarter. Rick Parros tries to go wide. Buffalo's defense led by Big Ben Williams, a defensive end from Ole Miss, who is the fastest Buffalo defensive lineman, and runs down that runner.
If there'd been a hold on, he'd have found it. He went all the way up and down the line looking for one. Everything was stuffed.
Watson was the man on the receiving end of the only scoring throw of this game. The offensive line gave up some sacks, but Buffalo is blitzing to get them. Denver's now a team with the offense to augment the defense. The Broncos have become a big winner. Last year, the Bronco offense had no punch, and the Orange Crush defense lost its inspiration. But right now, here we got another penalty.
Well, Ben Williams is saying, hey, look, it looked like he was in motion, but he can do that.
If you want to match spirited crowds, you pick the group that shows up at Mile High, 76,000 strong every time the Broncos roam. And this one here in
Try
Buffalo.
this bunch. You know what they ruled? I guess they ruled he pulled him off sides. When you do go in motion, you can't make a jerk that looks like. That's what they ruled anyway.
The front three and the backers for the Buffalo Bills, looking to get back the ball. They did a good job holding Denver to 7 first-half points. But that was good enough for the lead as Nick Mickemeyer hit a 41-yard field goal in the closing play of the first half. It's a 7-3 game, and it's second down and 13 for Denver. Swing pass goes out to Preston. Fine defensive play by Isaiah Robertson.
Okay, sometimes you can misconstrue who's winning a ball game. That time, Fred Smerlas is sitting with Bill Bryan, and they're having their own little battle throughout the afternoon. He plays the play there. He's looking for any sort of a screen or layoff pattern. This looks like he's trying to rush the passer. He's not. He's looking for something that's happening. It finally happens. He gets out here to be in pursuit when the man does catch the ball. Doesn't make the play, but does his job.
Did it well, and now extra wide receivers come in. Upchurch is in with Watson and Haven Moses, who deploys out to the right. Third down and 13 for Denver out of the shotgun. Here comes the rush. Lamar inside the 5-yard line. Rod Push, number 42, having a career day.
And I'll tell you what, Rod Cush not only got Morton down, but threw Morton over the top of number 71, Claudie Miner, and he hurt his knee.
Yeah, Miner is down. The excellent right tackle of Denver.
Boy, this has been an effective defensive play for them. He gets a hold. Now you see Claudie Miner, he got trapped underneath Cush's body. Boy, that's awful.
Claudie's been a great player at Denver for 8 seasons now. 280-pound offensive tackle out of San Diego State. They like the player that backs him up, Ken Lanier.
They'll give him the ball on the 2-yard line. They'll give him the sack, but boy, if they could just have Claudie back. I don't think it's going to be today.
Claudie Miner still down in the field with the game clock showing 11:49 to play in the third quarter. This has been a rough one. They were looking for a slug out here. A couple of heavyweight defenses.
What happens is, you see, first of all, Buffalo comes out in the second half, and they take the ball on their own 20. They get a couple first downs, and you say they got stopped. But their field position was great. They got them back to the 15-yard line, take advantage of a couple miscues on Denver's part. Now they've got him on the 2-yard line. They've got one of the top offensive tackles in this game on the sideline, and the momentum is starting to shift for Buffalo.
See Claudie grab at his right knee, and so often the injury comes when a player is just off the actual play.
That's right. He was doing his job. He finished it. Play looked to be over, and you can't have eyes behind you.
That's going to bring up fourth down, though, and Luke Prestridge, who's punted the ball well, as has his counterpart Greg Kager of the Bills, isn't going to have much room to work with now. They like a 15-yard drop for the snap. He's only going to have about 12. He'll be backed up to the end of the end zone as one of the most productive Broncos, one of the most consistent, Claudie Miner, probably leaves the field for the last time today. It's very unlikely he'll be back hurt in the last play in the right knee.
Let's just hope it isn't serious.
Roland Hooks and Byron Franklin both back for Buffalo. They want Franklin to return it. They want Roland Hooks to talk to him. That ball's in the air. You need somebody to advise you.
Is he there for speaking purposes?
Yes. You need your friends when you're looking at the ball and the rush is
That's
coming.
right. I'd like somebody to tell me something, but then they better hit somebody.
The Bills could be coming with the all-out rush now, looking to block this. Jeff Nixon is in the game. Another defensive back with a lot of speed. Cush is sneaking through there on those.
You know, the one thing
sacks.
I would say, I would agree with you. If this were a little later in the ball game, I think they'd put an all-out rush on him because, again, Prestridge is a couple yards closer than he'd like. But it's too early. They've got good field position coming up. I don't think they'll risk it, Tom.
He's kicking with the wind. Buffalo will have the wind in the fourth quarter. It is a gusting wind up to 20 miles an hour. Prestridge hits it very well again. Byron Franklin, his 42, straight ahead, across 50, and down to the 48-yard line of Denver. So the Bills start out on the Broncos side of the field. 11:20 to go in the third quarter. And Buffalo goes on offense for a second time in the third quarter, and we'll be back right after this. Lovely Buffalonian looking on here at Ridge Stadium. A not so lovely Buffalonian. And we're ready to roll it here in the third quarter. 11:20 to play in it. Bills on offense, first and 10. Pitch back.
Reverse.
Jerry Butler running with the ball. Good defensive play again by the Broncos. Latimer, the middle guard, swings over and makes the hit.
You know, it's really funny, Don. You sit there and you expect a team that pursues as well as Denver does to be fooled by an occasional reverse. But you take a look at one of the players that's as strong and solid a player as there is in this game, Bob Swenson. He sits there, makes 2 steps out. Somehow he just feels the reverse coming, gets into the position, stretches it out. You can see they're talking to one another. You take it outside, I'll take it inside. Gets hit while he's talking, by the way. But that's the reason they stop it for very little yardage.
He's been something for the Broncos, the free agent. Missed all of last year with a broken arm. That was a big factor in the Broncos going to an 8-8 season. Off the ball, and he lost it. Jerry Butler down. Aaron Kyle made him pay when he came down with the ball.
Almost lost a little more than the ball on that one, Don. He got upstairs. It looked as if to all the crowd he came down with it. However, he never did have complete control of it in the official's judgment. You can see he dropped it just before he hit the ground.
A couple of Denver trainers attending to the enemy. Claudio Minor's definitely out for the game with a right knee injury. As the game clock here shows 10:29 left to play. Buffalo's defense getting them back into field position in this game. Buffalo's intensity wavering throughout the season. They've been the best team in the league on certain days, then they've underwhelmed the opposition on others. Today they've risen up. They've had some private team meetings here during the week. They know the importance of this game, although it's only the halfway point of the season. If they go 4-4 at the turn, they have a problem. Of course, if they should win today and if Dallas should beat Miami, they'd only be a half game behind the Dolphins.
Yeah, there's such a long way to go, Don, and you can tell the teams that are contenders, and both these teams are, down the stretch, it's just win as many ball games as you can and let whatever takes its course do it. These guys, no matter what the outcome of today's game is, will be in contention down to the wire, but to get a break at the halfway mark and know you're really going somewhere would be a big plus.
Well, historically, teams that start to really build it up and get going in November are the teams that end up in the playoffs. There's no way that a team can play like Buffalo did, as well as Buffalo did the first 2 weeks of the season, and maintain that level. In fact, in the long history of this league, nobody's done it yet. Anyway.
They'd quit playing them.
Third down and 8 for the Bills. 46-yard line of Denver. Ferguson checks his people. Drops to his 44, throws, and has Byron Franklin. Look at this guy run. Fumbled the ball. Louis Wright has it. And Louis Wright is back down to the 20. So Byron Franklin, the rookie from Auburn, runs a perfect pattern, makes the reception, tears up field, and fumbles the ball. First turnover of the game. And the Bills are stopped again by the Denver defense.
And you can tell, here's Byron Franklin, little delay pattern. It's not Louis Wright's man. He's coming underneath. Luke Picone kind of filled out for him, but somebody grabbed the ball. One of those linebackers forced a fumble. That's what they're best at. Denver's got the ball.
New York, you've got to see this play to believe it. Watch this. A field goal try by the Colts. The ball is blocked by the Cleveland Browns. It bounces around. Reese McCall gets a hand on it, picks it up, laterals back, right there. Then the ball is flipped one more time to Greg Landry, the holder on kicks. He runs the ball in, a 20-yard touchdown run for the Colts. It's now 28-14 Cleveland in the third quarter. Let's go back to Buffalo.
Listen, Byron, when you're the Baltimore Colts, you'll take him any way you can get him. Now, Denver in the lead, 7-3. First down and 10. To the run they go. Bills really stuff it back. Dave Preston got to the line of scrimmage. Washington starts to ease on back into that game. Mosley just kicked a field goal from 34 yards out, and that gave the Redskins the lead. And we pause briefly for station identification. This is the NBC television network.
And KNBC Channel 4, Los Angeles.
Denver 7, Buffalo 3. 9:46 to play third quarter. Don Quickie with John Brody at sold-out Rich Stadium. 80,000 are here. Biggest crowd of the NFL day. Denver holding the 4-point lead with second down and almost 10 to go. Morton, hands off. Draw, and Preston runs ahead and gets across the 20, out close to the 24.
I'll tell you that. You know, you take a look at why plays go or why plays don't go. Shane Nelson was in a perfect spot that time to stop the draw. You remember they ran a couple effective draws early in the ball game. This time they come back. He's not going so deep this time. He comes back. He sees the play developing. He knows he's responsible for that whole area. Comes in, overruns it a little bit, but gets help from his pals.
Denver's offense a lot different than it used to be under Dan Reeves. He was offensive coordinator last 3 years at Dallas. They led the NFL in scoring last year, scored 60 touchdowns as a team. Martin on third down 5, takes a look, throws a strike, and it's tipped away. Mario Clark. Boy, Morgan put the ball there. Great play by Clark.
It was very difficult from this angle, Don, to see whether Mario Clark got a hand in on the ball. I don't believe he did. Anyway, Morton's fallen prey to bobbles throughout the day to stop drives. He's hit about 7 receivers that failed to come down with the ball, and that's about all that stopped him.
So Big Lou got to do his good work again. 7th punt of the day. They have Byron Franklin back again. He lost the handle on his reception and run. Roland Hooks takes a look at it, picks it up, 25-yard line. Eludes a couple of tacklers. Roland Hooks across the 40. Still going. And Roland Hooks is out to midfield. Luke got him and saved 6. Byron Franklin threw a heck of a block for Buffalo. 50-yard punt, but a 25-yard return. So the Bills get the ball back. They'll start out from midfield when we come back.
New York, and in rainy Washington, the Redskins are back on the board. Mark Mosley, 34-yard field goal, puts the Redskins on top, 17-15 early in the third quarter. Let's go back to Rich Stadium. Don Quickie and John Brody.
Thank you, Byron. They're standing in salute of the Buffalo Bills right now, looking for that offense to get it cooking. Got the good decibel level going here in Buffalo. 1st and 10. Handoff. Cribbs slashing up the middle, gets to the 44-yard line. Doubleheader day. We've got a good one going here in Buffalo, and more expected. Texas Stadium, Cowboys and the Dolphins. Miami leading the AFC East by a game and a half over Buffalo. And Dallas looking to get back in the game with the Philadelphia Eagles in the NFC East. Seattle and the Jets at Shea. The Jets are rocking right now. They've not beaten Seattle in 4 previous meetings, though. San Diego at Chicago. The Bears in disarray. Gain of 6 on the run by Cribbs. 2nd down and 4. Berge calls one of his 3 timeouts. The Orange Crush threw him a look he didn't know.
And he doesn't want to see that defense. Tell you, that was a 4-man line. You don't very often see it on 2nd down when Denver's playing against him.
So Joe Ferguson goes over for some Thompson, and we take a break. We'll be back after this. The outset of the day, that's how it looked in the AFC East. In the West, there were 3 leaders, as all the Denver fans are well aware. Joe Cribbs runs the ball on 2nd down and 4, and he has, it appears to be, John, a first down.
And Don, I'll tell you, we heard a great crowd reaction. Those things aren't just spontaneous, you know, all of a sudden we all stand up and start hollering. They know they've had the ball in good field position twice now. They had it 3 times early in the game. They weren't able to do anything with it. They're still only 4 points behind. Their defense has kept them in the game. And if they're going to capitalize at all, they better do it now.
They need the big play. Jerry Butler still not in the game. Lou Picone is back on the left flank. Butler walked off, but he was shaken up on a reception attempt. Frank Lewis is right. 1st and 10, Ferguson, deep drop. Takes a look, throws a strike. Kramer is tight end, hands the ball to the 34-yard line. But the yards against this Denver defense do not come easily. That was good for 6.
They come a lot easier, though, if you block Rulon Jones.
They've been doing a pretty good job
at it. And they've decided, hey, the rest of you fellas are going to have to play one-on-one because we're going to use 2 of our fellas to get number 75. This time you see, Ken Jones usually gets no help from anybody. But if Rulon gets away from somebody today, there'll be somebody else standing back there to help out.
Ken Jones deserves to have that one in the highlight reel. That's about as good as you're going to pass block against Rulon Jones. Jones is the best pass rusher they've had at Denver since the great Richie Jackson. Wasn't he something? Joe Cribbs on 2nd and 5. Breaks into the Denver secondary, ahead for another first down. Buffalo's offensive line blowing out the Bronx at the moment.
All right, once you start doing something at the line of scrimmage, we can hear the crowd going wacky. Then you can either run the ball or throw it.
They got a good group here in Buffalo. You, of course, John, will be addressing them tomorrow. The Bills Booster Club got the room sold out, about 1,500 here for that.
They haven't sold out whether anybody's there or not, don't they?
First down and 10 now for Buffalo. Look out. The Broncos make the big play. They come on the linebacker blitz, and Bob Swenson makes the kill back outside the 35-yard line. A 10-yard loss, a big play by Swenson of the Broncos.
Well, that's something that the Broncos rarely do. They usually leave those linebackers on the outside to play man-to-man on the backs. This time, Swenson beat the back, got to Ferguson. Nobody was open, and that's one of the few sacks. I think it's the 4th one he's had all season.
It's not too bad, is it? It's 8th week of play. So now the Bills are set back at 2nd down and almost 20. 37-yard line of the Broncos. Over the middle. He gets his fullback, but he also gets a load of Randy Gradishar.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind catching a ball and getting hit by Gradishar, but I'd like to pick up a few more yards first. I mean, if you've got to suck it up to get hit for a 4-yard gain, maybe we can go back in the huddle and figure out a better play. You can see Gradishar drops back about 8 or 9. He knows Curtis Brown's coming in underneath. He's not going to try for the play. Try for Curtis. He got a piece of him, and that's well done by the defense. 3rd and 15.
Gradishar in his 8th year has had all-pro seasons, but his defensive coordinator, Joel Collier, used to be head coach here in Buffalo, says this is Gradishar's best year. 3rd down and long yardage, about 18. Out of the shotgun. Ferguson throws. Not good. Penalty marker goes down. Right at the feet of Conrad Dobler. He's heard that song before. That'll take him out of field goal range if they were in it. Vikings getting back into the game slowly but surely against the St. Louis Cardinals.
69 offense.
Not only did they throw it at his feet, but they called him for holding. He got away with a few earlier in the ball game. I didn't see that one, and I know he's going to plead innocence, but he's gotten away with a few today.
But he has meant so much to this team, Conrad Dobler. Ferguson says he's been as big a factor in this team turning around in the last couple of years as anybody, because he demands that everybody in that offensive line play their utmost. What's this now? Might be a delay. Wade Manning is back for Denver. Cater, who can hit the ball a lot of different ways, including straight up. They'll be trying to do that and to bring it down inside the 20.
Remember, he did get called for holding, but that isn't what stopped the drive. They refused the penalty.
Yeah.
And as a result, they still have 4th and 15, but it's about 7 yards out of field goal range. And now they get a break, and they might be in field goal range. So we got to second guess the call the first time.
Still fourth down.
See, okay, it's still fourth down, but had they taken the penalty earlier, now they've got him third down and 25. I doubt if Ferguson would have tried anything. But now they get a guy jumping a little early. They got a chance to put 3 points on the board.
Well, we'll see how it turns out, as the field goal attempt will be from the 42-yard line, or from the 37-yard line, a 47-yard attempt. Matt Robinson, the holder, the former Bronco. It's on the way, plenty long. It's good again. He hooked it in the corner. Doesn't matter how you get it over that far. So the Bills are down by a point.
Don, tell you, when you said it's plenty long enough, you've got great eyes, because that baby cleared by about 1.5 feet, and there's a 5-yard penalty that just cost him 3 points.
I was there the day Dempsey kicked the one from 63 yards. I almost fell out of the press box.
I bet it made it by more than that one did.
They say it made it by a turn of the ball. If the ball
right?
wasn't extended straight out when it went over, it would have hit the upright. 63 yards, you don't have a lot of extra room on it. Next Saturday on NBC Sports World, the USBA Junior Welterweight Championship, fast-rising Johnny Bumpus against Willie Rodriguez. And then the National Hang Gliding Championships out of the High Sierras. Next Saturday at 4 o'clock Eastern Time on NBC Sports World. Here is the kickoff, and Wade Manning takes it on the run. East of the 15 into the 20. And Manning turns wide, still on his feet. Turns the corner and is finally caught and brought down. Rufus Bess, number 28, former Oakland Raider, made the play. 4:09 to go in the third quarter.
Don, there are guys that are made for special teams. He can help you out as a fifth back, but special teams is what keeps Rufus Bess on this football team. He'll save 5 or 6 plays throughout the course of a year that'll save you a touchdown, turn 2 or 3 games.
Atlanta leading the Giants 17-7. Mick Luckhurst, who was doubtful going into the game, might not play, kicked the 29-yard field goal for the Falcons. Jerry Butler will not come back to this game for Buffalo with whatever shook him up on that pass reception attempt. Riley Odoms, that horse of a man, takes it on a swing out. Riley feels the brunt of Jim Haslett. Broncos get some yards.
I'll tell you, Charles Romes doesn't back off too well either. Catch the ball in his area, you just hang in there.
That is your full-grown tight end, 6'4", about 240.
You know, the hard thing to understand is I don't think these defensive backs look at size anymore. They see those tight ends coming across that field, and they figure, hey, get the best piece you can, baby, because it's you or me. Haslett holds him up. Romes finishes him off.
Number 1 draft choice in 72, and as you saw, 4 times to the Pro Bowl. Baltimore easing on back into this thing. Burt Jones hit Raymond Butler from 37 yards out. 28-21 Cleveland. Pitch back. Bills fill the gap. Second down and about 4. Shane Nelson comes up. Was the first to make the hit, Dave Preston. And the game clock winds down to 3:53 to play. Third quarter.
The plays right now call for a lot of blocking out of your fullback. And Paris is put in a very tenuous situation because he's been finding the defensive ends, the men he has to block on those wide plays, and they're just a little too much for any back.
John, we must remember also that in the fourth quarter, that wind will be at Buffalo's back if they have to try another field goal. Mickemeyer hit his longest of the season into the wind at 47 yards out. Now Craig Morton, 3rd and 5 out of the shotgun. You're paying this game. Steve Freeman, who's put a couple of knockout tackles on, just drilled Dave Preston. You come over the middle and you pay.
I'll tell you that the Bills haven't taken a break all day, but neither has the crowd, Don. From the time the opening gun went off, these people have been standing up and having a go at it. You can see Freeman stands there. Even had Preston come down with the ball, it was short of a first down.
The punters have been very important people today. Here's Prestridge with his 8th punt of the day. High punt, not too deep. Does take a big Bronco roll, though. Look at that. Hop all the way down inside the 20-yard line, all the way down to the 13.
In a game like this, those last 2 punt returns are miscues because the Bills have allowed the ball to hit the ground twice in a row on punt returns. They've lost about 25 yards.
Good point. That was 53 yards by Prestridge. And, of course, no return, so the Bills start out, but in a hole. They're at their 14-yard line. A doubleheader day on NBC, and some of the best in the league will be matching up in the second games, including the Dolphins and the Cowboys at Texas Stadium. Kansas City, one of the co-leaders in the AFC West with Denver and San Diego, playing at Oakland. The Raiders are starting to score again. Don't count them out either. The other co-leader, San Diego, plays at Chicago. Joe Cribbs on first down, looks for some room to run, turns up the sideline and gets a little bit. Swenson ran him out, so did Bill Thompson. The plays come in from the sideline here at Buffalo. They're called in the press box by quarterback coach Kay Stevenson, who's about 2 feet away from us in the next booth.
He works so well with Ferguson. It's almost like 2 people working as one. He knows Joe. He knows what he likes. He knows what he likes in specific situations. Kay's been here 4 or 5 years with Chuck Knox, and he knows what he's doing.
Yes, he does. Jack Donaldson, the receiver coach, with him. They go over the game plan, the numbers up here, and phone it down. Second down and 8. Over the middle, tip ball, incomplete. Swenson tipped the ball, and the other Bronco defenders closed in very nearly to an interception. It's another problem, John, when you're throwing at your own end like this against a defense like Denver's that's intercepted so much this year.
They got a break, Don. He threw a ball that he'd like to have back. We're taking a look. We've seen these 2 fellas matched up all day long. You think they don't give Louis Wright a lot of responsibility? He comes. Lewis can get your back turned as well as any wide receiver in the game. He gets it on Louis, but Ferguson had already thrown the ball by this time.
The Bills don't convert on this 3rd and 8 play. The Broncos could end up with good field position. The play originating at the Buffalo 17-yard line.
Trying to get a screen out to Cribbs. They got him.
People are out in front. Joey Cribbs turns the sideline. Did not get the first down, though. He got out to the 22. Had to get to about the 25. Tom Jackson ran him down, so now Greg Cater comes out to punt into the wind, which at the moment has died down.
You can see Denver seems to spot the intention as fast as we can from up here in the booth. Their linebackers are already on the move, and Cribbs is by the time he catches it. See Tom Jackson, who got the first piece of Cribbs? From the time that ball was snapped, his act was in gear.
He is as fast as any linebacker in the league, they say. 57 Jackson of the Broncos, and now Greg Cater gets set to punt for Buffalo. Wade Manning is way back. And with reason, long punt and high. Manning will return it, though, from his 37. Look at that pursuit. Rod Cush. Rod's going to get a raise. Next Sunday, join host Brian Gamble for NFL 81. All the highlights, the scores, the late-breaking news on all the games. Then regional NFL action featuring 2 very important AFC divisional games. Houston against the Bengals at Cincinnati. The Kansas City Chiefs against the Chargers at San Diego. Check your local listings for the game and time in your area. Next Sunday on NFL 81.
Don, let's assume there was nothing that changed the course of events. That ball they let roll an extra 15 yards, changed their field position from the 20 to the 35.
Morton takes a look, lets it rip. It's caught by Egloff, a backup tight end, and they get the big gainer and very nearly a lot more. Ron Egloff goes up in the air and comes down with it.
All right, all day long we've seen Steve Freeman making big plays, coming up, hitting the backs, trying to create something on defense, and he's been getting away with it. That time Morton put the ball to the outside shoulder of Egloff. Egloff fended him off just like he would on a rebound. Freeman goes broke, and they pick up a big first down.
Real big one. 28-yard gain on the play. Denver 7, Buffalo 6. 2 minutes and 5 seconds to play 3rd quarter. 1st and 10. Here comes Tony Reed. He got a yard. Even a yard doesn't come easy in this game. Lucius Sanford was there.
You got that. I don't think the infantry's the one we're calling on today. You make very little going on the ground today. We have about 8 outstanding linebackers in this ball game. Shane Nelson and Jim Haslett are certainly 2 of them. with the outside men, Lucius Sanford, Isaiah Robinson. The backers have been making a ton of tackles today on both sides of the line.
Shane Nelson, a free agent story. He got here by sheer hard work. 6'1", 225, his 5th year from Baylor. He's been one of Buffalo's either leading or second leading tackler the last 4 years. Morton has a problem. They're going to get him.
Are you kidding me?
Smirlis just came in and just pushed everybody out of the way. It looked like a tree falling.
He reached over the top of Bill Bryan. He didn't even go around him. He went right over the top of him, grabbed Morton while Bryan was trying to handle him.
Buffalo defenders getting exercised here.
Take a look at this. Here's Bryan. I got the wrong guy. That was number 91, I do believe. Ken Johnson, who's used in passing situations. I can see why.
Ken Johnson, a third-year man from Tennessee at Knoxville. 5th sack of Craig Morton in this game. They've only gotten Ferguson once, but the Broncos lead it. 3rd down and 17. Another problem for Morton. Buffalo's defense. Same number, same guy, 91 Ken Johnson. 14-yard loss. So the Broncos are taken out of field goal range by a mile, and Prestridge in to punt again. You pointed out, John, the Bills let the last 2 punts drop, and both times they took long Denver rolls, as they usually will on an artificial turf field. A good angled punt by Prestridge. He hits it out of bounds inside the 20. So the Bills start out with the ball again, 1st and 10, but again they start out in their own area at the 16-yard line. A 35-yard punt by Prestridge, but a perfect placement out of bounds.
And this is the kind of game that little plays just like that dictate the outcome in. 7-6.
This has been a good one. We've got a long way to go. 8 seconds left to go in the 3rd quarter. Ferguson has thrown the ball 31 times. He's completed 15 for 157 yards. But the Bills have not been in the end zone. Their points on 2 Nick Mickemeyer field goals. Denver 7, Buffalo 6. Last play of the 3rd quarter. Ferguson's going to make it a throw. Swings it out. Curtis Brown runs with the ball, but penalty markers also come in from off the play.
Rulon Jones called that one.
Rulon felt he was held. I'll tell you one thing, though. The guys that have been blocking against him have done a pretty big job on Rulon.
They have lately, but it's taken a couple of. Ken's done fine, but he's just more than one man can handle.
You remember Richie Jackson.
Yeah, do I?
They say he's the best they've had in Denver since Richie Jackson, Sheriff Jackson. He did some damage.
86 offense. Holding half the distance to the goal line. Still 1st down.
The last play of the 3rd quarter, a hold on Mark Bramer, the tight end. So at the end of the 3rd quarter, the score is the Denver Broncos 7, Buffalo 6. We'll be right back after these messages from your local stations. The 3rd quarter has just come to a close. We're ready now for the start of the 4th quarter at sold-out Rich Stadium. 80,000 here. Don Criqui with John Brody. The Buffalo Bills trailing the Denver Broncos 7-6. The only second half scoring, a Nick Mickemeyer field goal for Buffalo from 47 yards out. The defenses have run this game. Now the Bills take over deep in their own end after the good punt by Prestridge and the subsequent penalty. The ball is back inside the Buffalo 10.
Aaron Kyle was just coming over to cover a couple guys that were going out of the game. I guess they cover everybody.
Conan Lewis came out. Buffalo going with a power formation now, looking to move the ball out. Get some room to operate. They go to the run. No, they do not. He's looking at Joe Cribbs. Now he goes to Curtis Brown. Good run by Brown. He's out across the 15-yard line. Gets out to about the 17. Washington, extending its lead after they were behind early in the game, leading New England 24-15. Cleveland just got another Brian Sipe touchdown throw and leads Baltimore 35-21.
Brian's arm must be getting sore.
Not a lot happened at Veterans Stadium, though. The defense is controlling there. 7-7 Tampa Bay and Philadelphia. The Giants, down 17-7, have rallied back, and they've tied Atlanta in the fourth quarter. Cardinals led 13-0. Now they hold to a 3-point lead over the tough Vikings, who've won 5 in a row. Second down and 8. Slash and run, and across the 20 comes Joe Cribbs. Reuben Carter hit him. Detroit was up on Green Bay, fell behind. Now the Lions lead 17-13. And Cincinnati, who had such a big game against the Steelers last week, go down to New Orleans, a team that's won just once. Nothing happened in the first half from a scoring standpoint.
How many times has that happened this year, Don? You sit here and try to predict something, and they give you the donut.
Well, we were looking last week for one of the big matchups, Cincinnati and Pittsburgh. Bengals, a slight underdog, only led 34-0 in the third quarter. 3rd and 3. Ferguson looks, he pumps, he throws, and Lou Picone makes a first down reception.
I'll tell you, Ferguson didn't have any time to spare either. From the left side, he knows Jones is coming. He put the ball the only place that could have been received. Picone isn't too tall for openers, but he can get down on that ground with anybody. Rulon, you see, he finally gets away from Jones, coming after Ferguson, hangs in there real well, takes the lick, gets the completion. They've got 1st and 10.
1st and 10 it is for Buffalo. The Bills trailing the Broncos 7-6 early in the fourth quarter. 12:55 to play in the game. Ferguson play faking. Home run ball. Lou Picone going for it. Penalty markers down at the line of scrimmage. Holding against the Buffalo Bills.
Well, whenever you give your quarterback that much time, there's always that vulnerability. They gave Joe an awful lot of time on that play, and he used all of it. He waited till Picone got about 30 yards down the field. You see Reuben Carter throwing the center around. Everybody's hanging in there. And don't think when Ferguson's firing the ball this far down the field, he doesn't sit and say, okay, guys, hang in there. Do what you have to do, but I need the time.
Holding, 73 still first down.
Borchardt, the left guard, is called for the hold. Detroit extends its lead over Green Bay to 24-13. Rick Kane scored on a 2-yard run.
Green Bay started fast, is faltering.
And the heat is really on Coach Starr right now, that new head of the team, where he pointedly did not give him a vote of confidence after the last loss when he was asked about it. 1st down and 10 for Buffalo. Deep drop. Here comes the rush. Ferguson throws. Curtis Brown's out there. Intercepted. What a play by Steve Foley, his 4th of the year. And Foley takes it back to the 38. There's a fumble on the play. Oh, he's ruling he was down. And that's going to stay with the Broncos, as Curtis Brown, who lost the ball to Foley on the interception, came back and stripped it from him, but they ruled it. Steve Foley was down. I think, John, when we look back at it, we'll see that he indeed was.
Well, Don, I know when you see a guy like Steve Foley and the play looked like it was a great play, he had it all the way. It's like a center fielder knowing he's got the play from inception.
With John Brody, this is Don Criqui back at Buffalo. Here's the last play again.
Well, this is what you call, I know I've got it all the way, but I don't want Curtis Brown to know it, try to come back and interrupt my procedure here. Foley's just playing great free safety, just like a center fielder, as we mentioned. Takes it on the dead run. Big turnover, 1 interception, 1 fumble. That's about all for the day.
Foley wanted 12 children. He knows you got to grab it when it's there. 1st and 10 now for Denver. Broncos lead by a point. Martin throws and gets his tight end, Riley Odoms, who's down to the 47-yard line of Buffalo.
Tell you, the pattern's been set, Don. Whenever they need ball control, they go to Riley Odoms. If they need something down the field, they go to Steve Watson. And the people that have been doing the job for them all day long, when they haven't sent backers or defensive backs, has been this offensive line. Look at Bill Bryan working on Smurlus. These guys are really in there battling. Classic's been an underestimated guard for years. He's doing his job. That's why you don't hear much of him.
Bill Bryan was voted by his teammates Denver's MVP on offense last year. Swing pass goes out, and the ball is caught by Preston. He's down to the 44-yard line. Washington now holding to a 2-point lead as Sam Cunningham just took it in from 4 yards out for New England. 24-22. Time a factor. Still a lot to go there. 13-12 to play. Cardinals open up a 20-10 lead over Minnesota. Dan Reeves checking this whole thing out from under the western New York sun.
Boy, his composure is unbelievable, Don. You know, over the years, as a player, he learned things so swiftly. He was a veteran after about 3 ball games. Seems to be the same way as a coach.
Franklin hit the field goal to bring the Eagles ahead of Tampa Bay. 2nd down and 7. Here's Morton with time, and he's done it when he's got it. The ball is knocked down by Sherman White. Defensive end Sherman White was ridden off the play. Some good blocking by Kelvin Clark.
All right, what happens is assignments change from play to play. This time, Morton had a lot of time to throw the ball, but he didn't have any of his receivers down the field open. He's biding time, trying to come off to his back, Rick Peros. What does he do? Here's Sherman White. He's standing outside. But he knows he's in a pretty good lane to block the pass if it comes to him. We can't see it, but he was in perfect vision.
They've done some shifting in the line since the injury. David Stunner's gone from left tackle over to right tackle, and Kelvin Clark is playing at left tackle. Buddy Miner, normally the right tackle, as you know, out with an injury. Morton looks and throws it. He hit it and lost it. That's happened to Buffalo so much this season. Charles Rome's had it and was looking at the end zone more than the ball.
It's happened to them twice today. Their defense has created situations for them to make big plays. When they've had the opportunity, they haven't come up with the ball. Watson runs a pretty good pattern, but he's well covered. I mean, this is something Romes can wait for the whole day. A ball thrown just a little bit underneath when I'm pretty close, and away we go. Whoops. Next case.
He's played well, but one just like that at San Diego cost Buffalo a playoff win last year when he dropped one right in his hands. Roland Hooks and Byron Franklin are back. Prestridge will hit the ball across his 45. Hits it high. Angles it. Byron Franklin lets it roll. Goes out of bounds, and again Prestridge does an excellent job for the Broncos, hitting the Bills back in their own into the field. Denver holds to the 1-point lead. This one's been something here at Buffalo. 4th quarter. 7-6, Denver in the lead. Buffalo with the ball. 1st and 10 at their 9-yard line. 10:51 to play. 10:51 to go. Joe Cribbs breaks it. Joe Cribbs puts both arms on the ball and takes it out across the 15-yard line. The New York Giants, a resurgent team, have scored 17 unanswered points. 2 Sims throws for touchdowns, one to Dave Young, one to Johnny Perkins. Joe Danello field goal. They are now in front of Atlanta 24-17. Detroit holding to a 24-20 lead over Green Bay. David Whitehurst in the quarterback. Threw for a touchdown.
They've used everybody but Bart Starr now.
He'd probably like to get in there, but help him win. Hand off again to Cribbs. Turns the corner. Cribbs running hard. Breaks it out to the 25-yard line. Conrad Gilbert on the bad wheels out in front of the play and leads the blocking. Number 69.
He's very slow going back to the huddle, but coming off the line of scrimmage, he's doing just fine. You take a look. He finally gets outside. He's trying to turn up as soon as he can. Gets a pretty good block on Evans, knocking him back far enough to allow Cribbs to run out of his grab. They're moving pretty well, but again, Don, and you hate to belabor a point, but they did let the punt hit the ground. They lost about 10 yards starting out on their drive. That's the 3rd time in a row.
Now on 1st down, Ferguson takes a look. A big rush against him, and Ferguson goes down back inside his 15-yard line. Don Latimer at middle guard comes busting up the middle and makes a super big play for the Broncos.
I don't think Joe has been sacked twice in the ball game this year, but he is today, and both these sacks were quick. It wasn't a case of him going back and waiting a while, waiting too long, and then getting hit. Both of them were clear breakdowns by the offensive line. One a missed assignment. This time he just got overrun.
So now he goes from a hole again. Ferguson in the Buffalo offense, 2nd down and 20 yards to go for the 1st down. He stands and throws it. Cooper Kupp catches the ball. Bill Thompson hits him after he catches it. Pound for pound, there isn't a tougher guy out there than 89.
Unless it's number 12. Every time he's going back there, he's getting his lunch eaten after he throws the ball. He hangs in there till the last possible minute. You can see Latimer. They've got 2 people on him now. Not getting a lot of time to throw, but using it very effectively.
Of course, the great young receiver, Jerry Butler, has not returned to the game since he was hit hard going for a pass. They've lost a lot of speed. Picone can catch it, but he can't run the fly patterns. Here's Frank Lewis, who can. He's got the ball. Aaron Kyle caught him, but Frank Lewis is ahead for a first down. And there's a penalty marker down. It's coming back.
You wait all day to get enough time to get somebody clear and hit him for a big gain like that. Generally, Frank Lewis, they're hitting. The officials are looking pretty close interior-wise.
I think one thing that bears perusal, John, is we've not had a holding call against the Broncos all day, and the flags have been, do they pass block that well?
69 offense, holding, 3rd down.
That's the second one on Conrad today.
Let's watch it.
All right, number 77, Greg Boyd. Will Grant trying to go with him. He's got his hand on the back of him, trying to push him to the ground. I think it's pretty obvious.
It was a hold. The Bills now, and the opposition throwing upwards of 130 times, and there's not been a holding call against the opposition, against Buffalo's pass rush. Captain wanted to point that out before the game. So I don't know what you have to do to get your guy, the opposition call for holding your guys. Now on 3rd down and long, here's a strike to Frank Lewis. He cuts back. Denver hems him in and knocks him down. And the game clock becoming a factor. 7:55 and running. Aaron Kyle made the play as the Denver defense time and again comes up with a big play and gets the ball back for the offense.
Don, Ferguson has hung in there and hung in there and hung in there patiently all day long. Made big play after big play. Had him called back in crucial times. That's something he wasn't able to do 4 or 5 years ago. We'll see if it does him any good late.
The #1 defense in the NFL, that of Denver, has not played a better game than this all season. The Orange Crush has been something. And now Cater gets set to punt. Hits a punt downfield, but Manning takes a look at it as 37. He's going to return it with some room. Turns the corner. And Manning goes down at the 44-yard line. Lou Picone, number 89, was down to make the play. 7:10 left to go in the game, and we'll be back after this. Coming up next on a doubleheader day on NBC, Miami at Dallas, Seattle at New York, San Diego at Chicago, Kansas City at Oakland. Check your local listings for the game in your area. As right now at Buffalo, we have 7:10 left to play. Well, I'll tell you one thing, some guys are up on their stats today. Cleveland. Browns come to Buffalo next week. Leading 35-28. Burt Jones just threw to Ray Butler for another one. Morton dumps it off. And Morton pays the price. He's down. Jim Haslett came through and got. They're both down. Maybe they were hooked up.
I think it's just a separation. They get very close in these kind of games, Don.
Both all right. Some of the gear interlocked.
I'll tell you, 2 linebackers played that play as well as it can be done. Haslett, number 1, Lucius Sanford, number 2, who actually grabbed a hold of Perros, didn't let him out in the screen, and it's legal when you do that behind the line of scrimmage.
5 holding calls against Buffalo today, none against Denver.
You know, I'd say, hey, that seems a little weird, except I haven't seen any fault with any of them that were called. We've been able to see 3 on isolations, and all of them were a violation.
Dan Reeves looking on as his 5-2 Broncos now holding to a 1-point lead in the 4th quarter. Preston runs. He's stuck. Haslett hit him. And while we have a moment, let's go back to New York for an update from NFL 81.
Okay, Don, thanks very much. In Cleveland, the Colts are fighting back. Burt Jones connects on his 3rd touchdown pass of the day to Ray Butler, 5-yard touchdown pass. They've drawn within 7 now, 35-28 in the 4th. Don?
Thank you, Byron. 6:38 and running in the 4th quarter here at Buffalo. Broncos come out of the huddle with Haven Moses wide to the right. 3rd down and 8 coming up. Buffalo defense looking to get the ball back. Watson is in the slot to the right. Martin, what's he doing here? He's going to run. Johnson hits Martin like a tackling dummy.
Yeah, that brings the crowd to its feet. Greg Morton did not want to run the ball. He's trying to buy some time by sliding the pocket a little to the left. Ken Johnson in the four-man rush is in there. He's buying none of it. They play a little stunt game. Smirlis runs to the right to contain. Here comes Johnson. About 2.3 seconds, and Morton's on the ground again.
So now the game clock is running with 5:58 to play. A 7-6 game. Luke Prestridge punts again, hits a low punt downfield. Byron Franklin fields it, puts his head down. You recall he fumbled once earlier after a pass reception. He holds on tight, gets the ball to the 28-yard line. Listen to these fans in Buffalo. John Brody, you were talking earlier about how costly it was for Buffalo to let those punts drop and roll. That time Franklin saved them some yardage.
They've got good field position.
Swings it. McCollum catches it and loses it. Incomplete. Tell you, these Broncos, you catch them with your back to them, you better wait for something bad to happen.
That works both ways, Crick. I'll tell you, we've seen a lot of balls bouncing around out there, and there's a reason for that. The people playing defense have something to do with it.
Total yardage. Buffalo has 278 total yards. Denver has 208. But Denver has the 1-point lead with 5:40 to play. Second down and 10 coming up for the Bills. Their 29-yard line. The ball was partially tipped by a Bronco. Foley came up. Lewis bobbled it and lost it, and it's 3rd and 10.
It might have been tipped after he had his hands on it, Don, but that's as good a throw as we've seen all year, let alone today. He had to wait quite a while for Ferguson to get into his pattern, and when he did, he put it right in between 3 defenders. They're not fooling anybody, but Ferguson is out executing and not getting the result he deserves. You sit there and you say, hey, we've only scored 6 points. Usually you can fault a quarterback. Here's a guy hanging in there, throwing that ball the only place it can be thrown. Nobody tipped that ball but Lewis.
Ron Jesse now in the game as the Bills go to the shotgun. Big down, 3rd down. Here's a long ball, and it's going to be overthrown by 20 yards, and a penalty marker goes down. It's going to go against the Broncos, I think.
It is, because Frank Lewis was coming out of his break. He got stopped. That was 15 yards deep.
Aaron Kyle was against him.
Oh, my.
The ball was overthrown. No chance for a completion. No interference. 4th down.
Well, it's true. He did interfere with him. If Ferguson gets the ball down a little bit, he gets the call. But remember, the rule is, if neither player could get his hands on the ball, doesn't matter what they do to each other.
So the Bills saw the yellow flag down. They thought they would have it. 1st down, but no. And so now Cater has to punt the ball back, and Wade Manning is back again for the Denver Broncos. Cater standing back at his 15-yard line. 5:28 to play. Denver 7, Buffalo 6. Broncos led at the half 7-3.
That drive took 23 seconds, Don.
What a punt. Back to the 18. Here comes Manning up the middle. He tries on Rufus Bess. Standoff there and no gain. Ball's at the 25. 53-yard punt, a 5-yard return. Doubleheader action coming up on NBC.
That's the injured Buffalo player.
Buffalo player is down on the tackle. Rufus Bess appears to be down and put the head-on shot on Wade Manning. It has been a rough one, and it's not over yet. It's going to come right down, perhaps to the final gun when we come back.
Folks up down in the dome, watch this. George Rogers zips off right tackle for 19 yards, his 5th touchdown of the year. Saints now out in front in the 3rd quarter, 7-0. Let's go back to Rich Stadium. Don Criqui and John Brody.
Thank you, Byron. The 2 players who collided on that punt return, Wade Manning, who was the hittee, and Rufus Bess, who was the hitter, both went down and just got up now.
Don, I don't think I've seen a ball game all year where there have been as many solid open field hits.
Right.
I mean, they're just knocking each other out. Okay, Wade Manning. How many times do you see a guy take a ball 53 yards from the line of scrimmage and have the pursuit there as fast as it was there? And I mean the action's heavy when they get there.
Mama, don't let your babies grow up to be punt returners. Short duration careers. 5:17 left to go in the game. Broncos by 1. They go to the run, and Preston is swarmed under the 27-yard line. Jim Haslett made the stop.
If Craig Morton does not put the ball in the air, and it's something he would like to not do, I don't think they're going to get past the line of scrimmage, because the people in Buffalo right now have been on the Bills' side all day long, pumped up. They're just waiting for something to break. They could get the ball in excellent field position with the wind if Craig doesn't create a first down.
Good point. 4:45 left to play. Denver by 1 point, 7-6. Second down and over 10 for the Broncos. Eyes set in the backfield. To the run. Smurless throws aside the center. Teams up with Sherman White for the stop. An upset could be the making in the Superdome in New Orleans. We'll get to that in a moment. St. Louis has extended its lead now over Minnesota to 27-10. New Orleans, you saw the Saints taking the lead over Cincinnati, the leader in the AFC Central. That ain't easy to do, crush the Broncos. Broncos now with 3rd down and 10, and Morton goes to the shotgun, so he wants to be so careful to stay away from the interception. Here comes the rush. Morton throws, and the ball is caught short of a first down. Rufus Bess, who was run in that tackle.
Was that Rufus in there, or was that Mario Clark? I think it was Mario.
Yeah, that's Mario Clark.
Hey, that's great defensive back coverage, Donnie. When you can take a guy like a Steve Watson, get him 5 yards down the field, cover him, keep him short of a first down.
Bills aren't going to have too many more cracks at it. See if these Broncos can hold them now, as Denver sends back punter Luke Prestridge. Broncos holding to a 1 point lead, 7-6. Prestridge standing at his 18-yard line. The Bronco defense spectacular today, holding the normally high-scoring Bills without a touchdown so far, just 2 field goals. Prestridge hits a punt downfield, and a fair catch is signaled for and made. I don't know why he had room to return it. National Football League rules require that we present away games starting with the opening kickoff. So to our stations in the team's home area, we remind the viewers in Kansas City, Miami, San Diego, Seattle, and Topeka, we'll be leaving this game in a few minutes for a telecast involving your home team. However, we'll continue to bring you reports on this game to keep you up to date.
I don't think I'd like to leave this job if I got here at the beginning.
3:01 left to go, and here come the Bills out of the huddle. The Orange Crush digs in to stop him if they can. 1st and 10. Cribbs ahead, 38-yard line. Gain of 7. Gradishar on the stop for the Broncos. But the game clock runs.
We're getting down to 1 drive left. They've had the ball in this kind of field position throughout the second half, Don. They've been unable to really make the most of it. Last chance at Dry Creek.
Lewis left. Hand off to Cribbs. He's got lots of moves. He had to use them all there to get some yardage. On 2nd and 2, he's close to a first down. He's got it. The game clock keeps running. 2:17 left to go. This one's going to be decided by 2 points or less. Denver wins it. It'll be a 1 point game. Buffalo can get down and kick the field goal. They would win by 2. And that's a long way from being achieved now as the Broncos fight to hold their lead. In the flat.
Every yard's a big one, pal, right now. Every yard.
They are so tough to come by the yards in this game.
2-minute warning.
.152 left to play. The Broncos with their defense playing great.
Cleveland, Mike Pruitt has provided the Browns with a little breathing room in the 4th period. Going off the left side, 16 yards for a score. Cleveland now out in front, 42-28 over the Colts in the 4th. Let's go back to Rich Stadium.
Okay, Brian, hasn't been that kind of a game here in Buffalo. It has been a defensive game, spectacular defensive play, excellent preparation, and then the execution by two of the best defenses in football. 2nd down and 4 for Buffalo. Ferguson with a drop. Here comes the rush. He throws, a man is open. Frank Lewis is down to the 35-yard line. It slips out of bounds. 1:46 left to play. What a football game.
Well, they know. Right now, Buffalo knows. They can't fool around. If they're going to move the ball, they got plenty of time to go on a drive. You can look for him to give it to Cribbs a little more. This time he found a way to get Frank Lewis one-on-one with Aaron Kyle. Had enough time to throw it, picked up a large 1st down. This is the best 7-6 ball game I've ever seen, Don.
And you have seen a few football games.
Been part of a lot of 6- and 7-pointers, too.
1st and 10. 36-yard line of the Broncos. Cribbs breaks it open. Joe Cribbs is down inside the 25-yard line. Listen to these fans. The sound of Buffalo.
All right, they're going to let it go down. A little 13-yard gain. We mentioned they can afford to give it to Cribbs. They put the defense in a bind with that long completion for the 1st down into Denver territory. And now the clock is on their side. Denver, you can look to call a timeout. Minute 14 left to play. They'll call a timeout if it looks dangerous.
But the Broncos still have the lead, 7-6. 1st and 10, back to the run, back to Joe Cribbs, and he takes it down to the 18-yard line. And now it is going to be an average distance field goal as the Bills continue to let the clock run. They might not want to risk a fumble because their place kicker is a long-range guy. Scores coming in. Washington with a 2-point lead. Cleveland in a scoring contest out in front of Baltimore. Philadelphia leading Tampa Bay by 3. But now the play is 2nd down and 6 for Buffalo. 32 seconds to go. Back to Joey Cribbs, and he takes it to the middle of the field.
Don, we got some scores. We see the Giants playing well over Atlanta, 24-17. But right here, as we see the rest of the ball scores, there's 25 seconds left to go. They do not want to put the ball up in the air. They're going to let it go as far as they can. It's too late for Denver to call an effective timeout. The Bills have control. It's all up to Mickemeyer. It's good luck, big fella. Hope you carry us in there.
Well, we speculated, John, this could come down to the final tick of the clock, to the final play, and that's what's going to happen. Our thanks to our producer, George Finkel, and our director, Harry Coyle. Larry Gluck, Larry Pollock, Ed Dorada in the box. The Bills call timeout with 4 seconds to play, so it all comes down to this one field goal attempt. You cannot believe the anticipation level, the vibrance of this crowd, the electricity of it all.
We just saw the man that held his cool, waited for his opportunity, and struck. He did not give these guys a break all day long. They picked off one long ball by Foley. They had one fumble. After adversity took place throughout the ball game, he held in there, got him back on a long drive toward the end of the game. We saw the game. I mean, he's done all he can do. Now it's up to the kicker.
Boy, and a lot has to do with Elvers, the snapper, and Robinson, the holder. As you see, it'll be from the 26-yard line, a 36-yard attempt. The football game depends on this one play. It's good. 1 second left, and the field goal is good, and Buffalo's going to win it. A great, great effort by Denver, but the Bills fighting back, and it was their defense that fought back. Gets the ball back to the offense, and Ferguson, when he had a strike, threw the completions that got them in range. Joey Cribbs, a little runner, got it in field position, and Nick Mickemeyer, 3 for 3 on field goal attempts, wins the football game for Buffalo.
Is it over, Don, or don't they have 1 second left?
Well,
I think they've got to kick it off, and I'll tell you what did it, Donnie. It is over for all intents and purposes. They'll onside kick, try to get the man down, but you remember early in the 3rd quarter when Denver forgot to take a holding penalty? then the man went off sides, then we kick a field goal by 1 foot. That's how close a game of this type is determined by. It was just 2 great defensive efforts, both teams hanging in there, and the result speaks for itself.
Boy, the Broncos traveled this long way, and they fought so hard. Their defense has never played better, even rated #1 throughout the league through the first 7 weeks of play than they did today.
And that guy has thrown the ball the way he has all year. Both quarterbacks threw it pinpoint. A lot of drops, a lot of hard hitting, very few mistakes.
80,000 people are up and chanting here in Buffalo as the Bills get set to kick off. Phil Villapiano with Coach Chuck Knox, one of the established veterans who Knox has brought in to give this team a mix of youth and veteran experience, stability. And with it, Buffalo won the division last year. Now they're fighting to stay in contention this year. At the end of this day, they could very easily be only a half game behind Miami because the Dolphins, in a game many of you will see as the second half of the doubleheader here on NBC, will be going against the favored Cowboys at Dallas. But when it's a Shula team, they might be an underdog in someone's opinion, but not in their own.
Well, you have to give both coaches today a lot of credit also. I think they were both so well prepared. Everybody was hitting.
Boy, this has been something. What a great, great game. Chuck Knox has seen his team down all day. They were down 7-0. They were down 7-3 at the half. They got another field goal. They had to fight hard for every yard to get it. They were down 7-6 until 4 seconds remained on the clock. 4 ticks left. And Mickemeyer, who's been perfect all day, complimented so beautifully the snapper and the holder in concert, Elvers and Robinson, and the field goal attempt is up and good. And now the final play of the game, and you're right, an onside kick. That's it. The game is over. The Bills and the Broncos, and maybe the best game in the NFL this season. And the final numbers are up, and Buffalo prevails 9-7. We'll be back after this. Quickie for John Brody. Remember the second half of our NFL double: Miami at Dallas, Seattle at the Jets, Kansas City at Oakland, San Diego at Chicago coming up next after these messages from your local station.